Salute. Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Make sure you double tapping that screen. That's how you get the likes up. This is most definitely Everything News, guys. And we got updates. You know what I'm saying? We got more people talking about these missing scientists. I think the last time I checked, it was up to like 13 missing scientists, guys. Where did they go? Did they just mysteriously up and vanish? You know, the UFOs take them. That's another thing that I've been hearing. UFO this, UFO that. UAPs and all type of stuff. I'm talking about, man, when it comes to the disappearance of these scientists, man, you know, people have all kind of theories going on, guys. I'm just saying it's something most definitely worth taking, paying attention to.
Get wrong about this. Why should we keep looking at it?
Well, anytime you have experts in the national security arena either disappearing or in some cases dying in prematurely and not necessarily a natural way, we have to look at this very closely. We can go back even to the 1940s during the Manhattan Project when we knew Russia was trying to target a lot of our scientists, try to learn some of our atomic secrets. This is nothing new. What is new, though, is we have these scientists, these engineers, and senior military officials that are completely unaccounted for. Some of these individuals had very high security clearances, top secret SCI security clearances.
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Anytime that would happen in any country, Russia, China, obviously would be a problem. This is happening here in the United States. And there are some very interesting ties that at least some of these individuals have with one another. And that is the UAP topic, ironically enough.
So, and you say this isn't you referring to culture or history. You're saying you talked to some of these people and what happened doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. In fact, several of the people that you have on your list right there that you showed, I personally spoke with years ago and talked to myself. And it was about the UAP topic and their work in that arena. But there's also, you know, you said something and it's absolutely accurate. There's other individuals that are not on that list that I am personally aware of that might actually be associated with it. There is an individual that somebody you know, Chris Mellon, who's been on your show before, was going to talk to about 2.5, 3 years ago. He was a few days away from meeting this individual. He was an engineer, apparently on the legacy U.S. government legacy UAP effort, and mysteriously died right before the meeting. There's another individual whom I spoke with. He reached out to me. I'm going to protect his identity here for the sake of his family, but he did meet an untimely end. He was a senior special agent at the Department of Energy, and he worked specifically in the Inspector General's shop, the IG shop. He was the most senior special agent for the Department of Energy, and he was talking to me, coming out and talking to Congress about what he knows within DOE and the UAP files that they're holding on to. He was upset, and he was a whistleblower. So I was arranging for this individual to actually meet with certain members of Congress. His wife, who is a doctor for the Veterans Affairs, walks in one evening after work and finds him dead on the sofa. Now, this was during COVID. From my understanding, there was never any
unalive on the sofa, guys,
if you will, connection between COVID and his death. He was relatively young. He wasn't an old guy. He wasn't particularly sick. He was healthy. He was athletic. So there are more individuals, and certainly I think the FBI should do exactly what they said they're going to do. You have folks like Anna Polina Luna that are working very hard behind the scenes, also trying, just had a show that's trying to get some additional clarity into this. There was another individual that Dave Bruce used to work with. His call sign was Quake, and he was going to go public and talk to Congress. And unfortunately, he was in Washington, D.C. at a hotel, and they found him dead as well. So I want to be careful not to scare people, say this is all about UFOs and the conspiracy that they're trying to keep people like us quiet. But I can tell you, as a matter of fact, I myself and other individuals whom I know in Congress can tell you the same, have actually been threatened before. So it is about time that the government takes this very, very seriously, whether they're just missing, or they want to take an extended vacation, or they're dead. We need answers, and we need them now.
No. Well, Lou, here's my pledge. I'm a call away. You learn anything, you want anything asked, you want it out there, you call me, it's done. Covering, I'll see you soon. You look great.
I appreciate you, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that was a little bit. into this whole entire situation, guys, with the UAPs, the UFOs, when it comes to these missing scientists, guys. All right, none other than my own person, I like to refer to from time to time, basically, when I want to know certain things, because I know she's not going to play with them. Nancy Grace most definitely spoke to this situation with the missing scientists, guys. And her perspective, definitely me to thinking. And new numbers is this 13 missing scientists now. Not just 11 anymore, 13. And one of them being a general. We're going to get to him in a second because he most definitely went missing or unalived under strange conditions as well, guys, which got a lot of people yelling about this UFO, aliens type situation. And Nancy gets a little bit into that. She most definitely talks to a couple people, and we most definitely get some more insight into these scientists, guys. Aerospace scientists are the ones that are coming up missing, guys. People who have things to do with space exploration, new weaponry, that type of thing. Those are the people that are coming up missing when it comes to the scientists, guys. But let's go, man. Make sure you guys are double tapping the screen. If you have not, this is everything news. We got a couple of updates on the missing scientists, guys. So support the channel by simply double tapping your screen if you're on a mobile device, or clicking those 3 dots in the right hand corner, hitting that thumbs up. It helps out the channel, guys. Let's get into this.
No, we learned the FBI is probing 11 U.S. space scientists either dead or missing.
Why was
this is Crime
FBI so quick to jump in this,
for being with us.
Let me know. You know what I'm saying? Let me know.
Are investigating a string of suspicious deaths and disappearances of at least 11 U.S. scientists, many of whom are involved in classified aerospace, nuclear, and defense research.
Join us tonight, Crime Stories investigative reporter Dave Mack. Dave Mack, what more can you tell us?
Nancy, we have 2 more names of scientists,
so it's 13
military
now,
insiders who are now missing or dead. 2 more to add to that list,
which makes it 13.
These are some of the most amazing things we've seen yet. First of all, Matthew Sullivan, a 39-year-old former U.S. Air Force intelligence officer, and a 29-year-old NASA nuclear scientist, Joshua LeBlanc. Matthew Sullivan was scheduled to testify in a whistleblower hearing that was taking place on Capitol Hill. Think about it. A hearing for whistleblowers about UFOs and UFO intelligence within the military. And before
Congress is going to speak about this, guys. Trump is getting ready to release these UFO files. And a lot of people say, UFO and aliens, AEPs got something to do with the missing of these people. So who knows, guys? But the files, the UFO files, are most definitely about to get released. What's up, Lee B?
A chance to testify at that whistleblower hearing. Matthew Sullivan, dead. The circumstances of his death are being questioned by many close to him, but he's gone. NASA nuclear engineer, 29-year-old Joshua LeBlanc, Huntsville, Alabama. Like many of those who have gone missing, Joshua LeBlanc, at 29 years old, was reported missing around 4:30 in the morning. He left his wallet, keys, phone, stuff like that at home, but he was gone, and his family couldn't find him. He didn't show up for work. They were concerned. All day long, Huntsville police were looking for Joshua LeBlanc. This nuclear scientist who was working on nuclear propulsion for NASA was missing all day. 2:45 that afternoon, a fiery crash involving Joshua LeBlanc's Tesla. The crash was so bad, he hit a guardrail, crashed into some trees. His body, not even identifiable for 3 days. When
they're giving y'all some insight on who exactly some of these scientists were, guys, in the fields they work in. Make sure you got, man, we got way more than 19 people. Y'all double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click the 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. Help me help by getting the likes up, guys. But we're getting insight, into these scientists, guys, their jobs, what they did, the mysterious circumstances of which they were unalived or came up missing, man. It's most definitely crazy. It's something worth paying attention to, guys. Yeah, this is going on outside, man. You know, a lot of people are speculating that even our own government may allegedly have something to do with this. I'm not sure about that, but that's what's being reported, guys.
Finally got into the investigation. They were able to go into the Tesla Sentry mode and found out his vehicle, this Tesla, was parked at the Huntsville airport for 4 hours the morning he was reported missing. Just 4 hours. And then later on, dead. So 2 more odd to explain deaths in the mystery surrounding the scientists that have gone missing or dead recently.
Deep research into anti-gravity jet propulsion, into special alloys made for high intensity heat, an alloy called Mondelez.
Hey, Mother's Keeper.
And so much more. Ideas and theories that most of us have never
Do y'all think the aliens took them? Let me know.
imagined that under their skill and expertise were actually coming true until they go missing or are found dead. 11 that we know of. Many of them I've been able to connect. 1, 2, 3, 4
That we know of.
to
It's 13 total, guys.
McCasland, General Neil McCasland, who oversaw funding and research, who was seeing over, commanding an entire Air Force base, but also was in charge of funding and overseeing research into many of these projects, joining us, an all-star panel to make sense of what we are learning tonight. I want to go straight out to special guest joining us, Chris Malore, Deputy Science Editor for Daily Mail. What is happening? Many people thought that this was fantastical, but it's not. And now the FBI has joined the probe. And I would like to add a stark departure from normal FBI tactics, which we saw out in the Nancy Guthrie case. Remember, the FBI did not enter into the investigation until they were invited by Sheriff Nanos, who took his sweet time doing it and screwed up the investigation. Here, they have jumped in feet first into the disappearance of General McCasland, which opens up an entire can of worms into the other 10.
We're going to get into the general in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He's his own story, guys. We'll jump into the general in a second. Make sure you guys are double tapping that screen. If you're on a mobile device, double tap the screen, guys. That's how you hit the like button. Or click the 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. More on these missing scientists, guys, as we go over this with Nancy. Out to everybody in the building.
Scientists, and that's 10 that we know of, Chris Malore.
That's right, Nancy. Actually, this has been something that has been pushed by a lot on Capitol Hill. We've spoken to Congressman Eric Burleson and Tim Burchett at length, and they've been pushing for this investigation. A lot of the initial investigations were done by local police, and the congressmen have definitely pushed this into the forefront of federal investigation as of late.
Many have been found dead. Many just simply disappear. And they disappear under very unusual circumstances. They are connected. That's where I start all criminal investigations, with connectivity. Is there anything linking them? And to you, Brian Fitzgibbons joining us, Director of Operations, USPA Nationwide Security. It's a team of investigators finding missing people. Former Marine, Iraqi war vet. Brian, many people say these are not connected, but I, from over 1,000 miles away from where they went missing, have been able to connect 5 of them. 4 connected to General Neil McCasland. Much happening out of the New Mexico jurisdiction, New Mexico and California. Listen to these connections and how the people went missing. Let's just start with Melissa Diaz.
All right, so these are some of the scientists that went missing in Mexico, guys. They even got scientists missing that's from China. You know, scientists are coming up missing these days, and nobody knows where they are.
Administrator at the Los Alamos National Laboratory and the AFRL. So you've got the Air Force Lab, the Air Force Research Lab, and Los Alamos Nuclear Lab. She worked there. She worked with Chavez, Los Alamos Nuclear Lab, and AFRL. Monica Jacinto Riza worked at the AFRL, Air Force Research Lab. General McCasland oversaw, actually commandeered the AFRL.
Now we got a little bit more on inside on him, guys. This general right here, he came up unalive in mysterious way as well, guys. Like I said, a lot of people are thinking UFO, aliens, you know what I'm saying? They even in our own government. I mean, what do you think? What have happened to these 13 missing scientists in the U.S., guys? And remember, I just told y'all, they also have scientists that are missing from China as well. Some people think that Russia may have something to do with this, you know, or one of them, China. They're saying that basically if they wanted our technologies, the way to go about getting it is to take the scientists. That's the theory that's been put out there.
FRL, including the funding, specifically Riza's project. Stephen Garcia, government contractor, built parts for nuclear weapons connected to the AFRL. Well, I can connect more, but listen to how Melissa Casillas goes missing. She takes her daughter a soy sandwich for lunch. She says she's going to work from home. She is spotted on camera, surveillance cam, leaving around 2 p.m. in the afternoon there in New Mexico. She never went for a walk in the heat. She took no cell phone, no keys, no identifying objects. Never seen again.
Now, the last video of her, guys. Now, this reigns so true for a lot of the scientists, guys. They left their phones. They left personal things that, you know, they may need to take when they leave with them, like their cell phones and keys and things of that nature. They just left it at the crib, you know, on the table, you know, and just walked outside and never came back. You can't tell me this ain't strange. This is extra strange. And then all these people connected, you hear the same story about, you know, them basically just coming up missing. This is most definitely crazy. What is going on with these 13 missing scientists? Man, we are 60 away from 100 on that like. Double tap that screen if you have not, if you're on the device, or click the 3 dots in the right-hand corner. Hit that thumbs up. It helps out the channel, guys. Yeah, this is a little bit on these 13 missing U.S. scientists, guys. Where did they go?
Walking briskly eastbound. A shoe that may belong to her was found in a canyon. Even though cadaver dogs and scent dogs were brought out, nothing. Then you've got Monica Jacinto Riza. She got her funding from AFRL, and she was specializing in jet propulsion.
Jet propulsion, guys. A scientist on jet propulsion. You know what I'm saying? She got abducted too, or kidnapped, or is alive. Man, where are they going?
It's on a hike in the LA National Forest.
She went on the hike.
She's with a friend, a female friend who's just ahead of her. The friend looks back. She waves and smiles. A few minutes later, she looks back. Monica's gone. An intense digital search and more was conducted. Nothing. In the space of 10 minutes, she's gone. McCasland, General William Neal McCasland, who oversaw
this is the general, guys,
is home. In the space of less than 1 hour, Fitzgibbons, he disappears. His wife sees him, a repairman sees him. Wife leaves for a hair appointment around 11:04 a.m. She comes back around 12:04 a.m. p.m. He's gone. He leaves without his cell phone, his keys.
No cell phone, keys.
A smartwatch, which would have identified him and tracked him. He leaves behind those prescription glasses you see him wearing.
Left his glasses.
He takes nothing to identify him, but he does take a 38, and he's wearing a pair of hiking boots.
That's it. That's all. A 38.
Sometime later, a gray Air Force sweatshirt is found discarded by the side of the road. The only thing that would have identified him as being with the Air Force is found discarded. There's Steve Garcia. Again, goes for a walk and never comes back, leaving behind phone, watch.
Going on a walk and leaving everything behind. Watch, phone, the Apple Watch, you can find out where somebody at and track their movements. You know what I'm saying? So leaving anything that can trace them, they left that at the crib. You know what I'm saying? The general left all of that, including his glasses, took nothing but a pistol and still came up missing. Where are these scientists, guys?
ID, you name it. How can these not be connected, Brian Fitzgibbons? And there's more.
Hey, there's a lack of obvious risk factors for a missing persons or a suicide case with all of these individuals that you've named. They have economic stability, government jobs with pensions. They have professional status, highly educated, highly influential in their fields, many of them.
That's the one that hit the high-powered weapon, you know what I'm saying, that burnt her hand. That was telling us the story about her being able to learn, different things in like 3 hours or something like that. Her right here, Amy. Amy got hit with a high-powered energy ray. Yeah, for lack of a better term. You know what I'm saying? She got hit with some kind of gun we ain't never heard of before. But that it really exists.
Influential in their fields, many of them. And then you add the caveat that they're connected, not loosely, but intimately connected through Air Force research labs and specific projects within that research function. And then you add in the additional caveat that a number of them have gone missing with the same circumstances, leaving Apple Watch and phone behind. This is highly alarming and ought to be investigated thoroughly by the FBI.
What's interesting, Brian, is that I'm talking about the ones that are missing. The others are dead. A couple of them found submerged in bodies of water. Straight out to John Nance joining us, former supervisory special agent with the FBI for over 20 years. John, thank you for being with us tonight. John, why is it the FBI typically waits to be invited in on a local investigation? Why is that?
Well, the FBI doesn't have
the X-Files with Scully, absolutely
primary jurisdiction. In murder cases, there are some
crazy
exceptions to that, but that's essentially why you don't see the FBI taking the lead role immediately in cases of that nature. But when it comes to matters like this, especially with the McCasland disappearance, I think this directly implicates national security issues. In the first part of my career, I spent as a counterintelligence agent. And I can tell you from that perspective, the correlations that we see here are extremely disturbing. And I'm sure that's why Patel's FBI has gone into overdrive with conducting investigations into these matters.
Yeah, and if it wasn't a big deal, why would the FBI take it, guys? Let me know. Cash Patel and them head first into the situation. If it wasn't a big deal, why would the FBI get on it?
Really interesting is Amy Eskridge's case and what Frank Milburn.
If it wasn't a big deal, why is the news reporting on it?
Had to say with regard to her the use
if
of
it was really nothing to worry about, why is Nancy talking about it?
Directed energy weapons, things of that nature. I think all these things are going to be looked at and analyzed with a fine-tooth comb, so to speak, by the FBI.
Their research, Mr. Nance, was so advanced beyond what many of us can even imagine. For instance, Amy Eskridge allegedly died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. This is after she texted friends saying, "If I'm found dead, I did not," repeat,
Yes, this is the one that sent out the messages that said she would never harm herself. And then all of a sudden, she wound up alive from self-harm. Nancy gonna make this down. She also said she was hit with a high-powered energy weapon. I mean, this is the one that they look at and be like, wow, man, she knew something was finna happen to her, and she spoke on it. Let's go.
Not commit suicide. She was working on anti-gravity jet propulsion, which is amazing. It's specifically, she was working with her father on idea she wanted to present to NASA, and it dealt with a craft, an aircraft called TR-3B, T-Toy R-3B brother, a triangular craft, and with anti-gravity jet propulsion, that craft could go up, down, to either side, catty-cornered, diagonal, and at rapid rates of speed, unlike anything that we are familiar with, basically defying the laws of gravity. That's what anti-gravity jet propulsion is, and it can be used for a myriad of purposes. The other woman we are discussing, Monica Jacinto Reza, worked at AFRL. That's where she got her funding anyway. She was working on an amazing alloy, a metal that was highly heat resistant to be used on rockets called Mondelez.
All of them in the
Many of us have never even heard of that.
aerotech
Now, you
technology
mentioned
field.
directed energy attacks. And I now know, since I've been investigating this, that a Russian agent was apprehended here in the U.S. in the 2020s with such a device. So this is no longer.
So it exists, guys.
In other words, it's like shooting a gun, except.
So when I just said, they saying that it exists. Yeah, this high power energy weapon that we ain't never heard of. It exists. A Russian spy or a Russian person got caught over in the U.S. with a high-powered energy weapon. So it most definitely exists, guys. Let's take time to get those likes up. Never ever had to say a million times, hit the like button, guys. Hey, if you have not, double tap that screen on your mobile device. That's how you hit the like button, or click the 3 dots in the right-hand corner, hit that thumbs up. It helps out the channel, guys. We need to see 100 as soon as possible. So if you haven't hit that like button, hit it.
In the 2020s, with such a device. So this is no longer, in other words, it's like shooting a gun, except it's microwaves. Yes, something that many people only imagine is real. I didn't know that until I started investigating this.
So it's
Could
real,
you describe
guys.
what that is?
Well, sure. The stuff you're talking about is not science fiction. The triangular shaped craft that you're describing have been seen and reported about for decades. These individuals, Ray's, for instance, was working at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is directly connected to General McCasland. It's also directly connected to the UAP phenomenon. We've had several congressional hearings with regard to it. And wherever you fall or whether you come down on this issue, it is at its base level a government transparency issue. Eskridge, working on anti-gravity technology or filled propulsion technology would be paradigm shifting. So these technologies are, in many people's opinions, the result.
I didn't know they had no high energy weapon, but I do now.
Of crash retrieval programs. We've got, like I said, we've had several congressional hearings with regard to this. I've written several columns at Town Hall with regard to these matters. I've spoken to Representative Burchett about this matter. So we're not talking about science fiction. We're talking about science fact with regard to what these individuals were working on. The directed energy weapon that you have mentioned is a real weapon, obviously, as Mr. Milburn has described very in very detailed fashion. It's essentially a microwave, a focused microwave energy beam that is capable of cooking you from the inside out. It'll penetrate through a window. It'll penetrate through drywall.
That's crazy, y'all.
So, all these things taken together, it is a very serious national security threat. To go back to General
Look at her hands,
McCasland,
guys. Hold on, let's go back to these hands. These are her hands. Basically, after she says that she was hit by that high power weapon, guys. Look at the marks on that hand that they are most definitely saying really exist, guys. And she's saying that she got hit by one which messed her hands up. So y'all see the discoloration of her hands. They say, you know, what she says is from one of those high power energy weapons. That's what it did to her. Wow.
National security threat. To go back to General McCasland, he was responsible for managing the funding of 80% of the military's SAP programs. Those are special access programs, which, as the name denotes, are access controls of some of the government's most highly classified information. And of course, he worked at Wright-Patterson with regard to the Air Force's research and development program. I think that's like a $2 billion program he oversaw. So he's literally a walking hard drive of highly classified information. So the FBI is going to be very, very interested
when it comes
determining
to that
what exactly has happened to him.
I've listened very, very carefully to his wife's 911 call, John Nance, and she said specifically, I don't think he wants to be found. I think he plans not to be found.
Talking about the general guy.
None of the families want to speak out. It's almost as if they're afraid. You mentioned Frank Milburn, former British intelligence officer who knew Amy Eskridge very well, and he is joining us now. To the rest of the panel, please stay with us as I go to Mr. Milburn.
Yeah, man, it's so crazy they got Nancy talking about it.
That payment. They're not.
Yeah, it's a lot going on with this situation.
Home for Nancy.
Where are these scientists, guys?
A special guest.
Pattern rather, while several of the scientists leave their homes and vanish without their phones, while others are found dead, prompting concerns of a sinister pattern rather than random events.
Joining us tonight, a guest that has intimate knowledge regarding the death of Amy Eskridge. As you all know by now, brilliant scientist. Frank Milburn joining us, former British intelligence officer who knew Amy very well, and he spoke with Amy just hours before her death. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Frank. First of all, thank you for joining us tonight. But Amy Eskridge, brilliant scientist, found with allegedly a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head, Huntsville, Alabama, near the NASA space station, which is not just in Florida, but also in Huntsville. She texted with you some very disturbing information. First of all, tell me about your relationship with Amy.
Certainly. I mean, we met online. At first, I thought it was an anonymous account, and I thought it was a very amusing middle-aged scientist who was ranting about
Amy in
a very, very intelligent way.
And
then slowly we got in contact that way, and slowly she revealed to me who she was. And I realized, wow, this is a brilliant young scientist. And I did my background checks on her as well, because that's what I do. And then over the course of the year, we got to know each other extremely well.
So you were pen pals of sort for over a year.
Yes. Initially, we weren't talking about UFOs. We were talking about UFOs, but slowly as she kind of, I got her confidence and she got my confidence, she started to tell me about the harassment and all the things that happened to her. And also showing me the proof, showing me the videos and the photos and things like that. And also as well, she was, she'd be at work and she'd put me on a video with her co-workers as well. And
that's what you think is going on. It must have been whistleblowers. Okay.
I want to talk very briefly about Amy's studies. Again, a brilliant scientist. Now, to my understanding, of course, I'm just a trial lawyer.
All right, Nurse
she was
P
studying anti-gravity.
Nurse P says they are being taken. I have been saying this is that. Why I told you, Mel, that the military wasn't getting one of my sons that interned for NASA, and I didn't let him go back to NASA after that. Okay, exactly. They knew too much. Well, some is most definitely going on with them.
Is that correct? Anti-gravity propulsion.
She was interested, yes, in anti-gravity. She was interested in free energy, which is the extraction of energy from the ether in potentially unlimited amounts. Obviously, change the whole way that we have and produce energy on Earth, and potentially would help every poor country in the world.
Could that be the reason why
it could also be very dangerously used as a weapon? What she was actually working on when she was attacked with the directed energy weapon.
What's up with it,
that's been heavily that was especially documented with videos, testimony, and other witness there. She was actually working for Homeland Security on a project which would defend U.S. subways across the continental United States from chemical.
She was also working for Homeland Security, guys.
Bio and radiological attack. So, across the board, she had a very interesting portfolio of things that she was interested in and working on. But, she was an American patriot.
Can I circle back to what you just said, Frank Milburn, that she was working with Homeland Security on methods to protect public transport in the U.S. Could you expand on that, please?
Yes, certainly. She and a colleague, they were approached. I actually sat in on a couple of the meetings with people, senior members from Homeland Security and from another agency that I'm not going to mention. Amy was there. A contact of mine was there who was ex-American Special Operations, and there was and one of her co-workers was there. And they were basically discussing with Homeland Security everything from directed energy weapon attacks. The specific project that they were working on was to design a system whereby all the subways across the continental United States could be protected from biological, chemical, and radiological attack, a detection system, effectively.
Mr. Milburn joining us, former British intelligence officer. The reason I wanted you to tell us a little bit more about her project she was working on with Homeland Security is that many naysayers are suggesting that she was somehow had mental or emotional problems. I find that very difficult to believe as a former Fed myself, working for the government my entire legal career, that Homeland Security would enlist the aid of any scientist that had a mental impairment. I find that very, if not impossible, difficult to believe. Now, Amy, 34 years old, had also been researching, as I first mentioned, anti-gravity, advanced technology with anti-gravity propulsion. And what is interesting about that to me is anti-gravity propulsion. When we think of aircraft of any type, be it plane, helicopter, or rocket, we are within the framework of our known laws of gravity. But anti-gravity jet propulsion would mean that the aircraft could go up, down, side to side, and at rapid rates of speed, unlike anything we have ever seen. Isn't that true?
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, if you're looking now, we're looking, the next big step for mankind is colonization of space.
What happened to these scientists,
space's mineral resources.
What happened
and
to
also
the general?
space strategically. I mean, they've just gone to the moon.
Did they get abducted or just come up missing?
There, have a base and then be able to jump to Mars. So if you had this anti-gravity technology and also, free energy, potentially, as a fuel system for other propulsion, you'd be streets ahead of anybody using, or streets ahead, you'd be light years ahead of anybody using traditional rocketry technology.
Also, she was working with her father, Dr. Eskridge. They had founded a research institute together on something called TR-3B, which is a triangular type of aircraft that she thought would be suited to that would be compatible with her anti-gravity jet propulsion. Now, this is very hard for most of us to take in. Most of us are not literally rocket scientists like Amy and her cohorts. I want to talk to you about the texts that she sent you just before her death.
About the text messages.
What did she say?
Well, she sent the text messages. Now, I'm presuming these are the ones where she said she would never take her own life, and then mysteriously winds up, right after that, and then them trying to say she took her own life. I think that's the craziest part out of all of this.
The immediate text within the month of her death was, if I committed suicide, I didn't. If you hear that, if I overdosed, I didn't. If you hear that I killed myself or anybody else, I didn't. And this was text to myself. There were other texts to other people, co-workers. I just got a message actually.
And right after she texted him this, you know what I'm saying? Right after she texted him this, she wound up unalive by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Right after she just told this man she'll never take her own life.
You know, the day before yesterday from somebody I'd been in contact with, a very close friend of Amy, who was also subject to attacks, who just said, like, no way did she commit suicide. And, well done for putting out there. They don't want to put it out there because they've been attacked, and they have, they have things to protect. So it was over the course of the year. Then she's verbally telling me, I'm being attacked. I'm sorry?
Who is they?
Let's go,
Nancy.
Who is they?
I'm not in disagreement. I am not in disagreement, because the best way to cover up homicide is to make it look like a suicide. And I have personally investigated and prosecuted cases where the victim was portrayed as mentally imbalanced, having committed suicide. In fact,
hey, if you haven't done it yet, hit that like button. We need 20 more likes to get 100, guys. Double tap that screen of your mobile device if you have not. Click 3 dots in the right-hand corner, hit that thumbs up. We get an insight into the 13 missing scientists, guys. One of them they talk about is Amy right now, who sent out messages to people she trusted and said she would never take her own life, and then wound up a couple of days later alive, and them basically saying that she took her own life after she said she would never do that.
They were the victim of a homicide. You say they have a reason to kill her. I assume you could be talking about a foreign entity that wants to extract, use, and implement her work. It could be corporate espionage, someone that wants that technology, those ideas, to make money off of it. It could be a jealous coworker. I don't know what it is, but when you say they had reason to kill her, who in your mind is they?
Who is they? Let's go.
Well, I'll tell you, somebody initially looked at, I was thinking, like the GRU, Russian military intelligence, or, the Chinese. But you have to understand, this is an actor actors over a period of like maybe 3 years or even more were harassing her over a period of time. Vehicle surveillance, identity attacks, social engineering, break-ins, hacking. That's a lot of moving parts.
Hold on, Frank. You got me drinking out of the fire hydrant.
Go, it's a lot going on.
Too fast. Okay. You mentioned the potential of Russian military, of Chinese intelligence, and I don't know why that seems so hard to believe, difficult to believe. How many people do Russian intelligence have to throw out a window or poison with perfume? We hear about it all the time. This type of espionage happens all the time right under our noses. So it is not difficult to believe it could be happening here. But you mentioned being harassed. Harassed how? Yeah. And also you mentioned a directed power hit on her body from which she allegedly sustained multiple bruises and showed them to people. And when we're talking about that, is it something akin to, for instance, the Havana syndrome?
This wasn't alleged. It's all documented, and I actually showed, the images of her to a doctor friend of mine, and she said, "Yeah, there's just, with the directed energy microwave weapons. Havana syndrome is mostly acoustic.
A microwave weapon, saying that the burns on her hand consistent with a microwave weapon. She said she got hit with a high power energy weapon, and they saying that this is consistent. If that was to happen, because high power energy weapons are real, according to them.
Directed energy microwave weapons that literally, fry your body, fry your central nervous system, fry your spine, give you all kinds of gastrointestinal problems. But the point that I was coming to before was that this was an actor which had a lot of resources on the ground and that managed to pass for a long, long period of time, basically unimpeded, and that may or may not have been able to subvert law enforcement and authorities at local, state, and federal level. Okay, so they avoided counterintelligence scrutiny. And Amy went to talk to the FBI. She said, "Thanks, Frank, for setting this up through your friend." She talked to the FBI for 3 months, and then the FBI turned around and said, "We don't have jurisdiction on this case to cover this case."
Crazy.
Hang on, They are the counterintelligence agency, domestic for the United States. So why didn't they have jurisdiction? I don't get that.
Well, as a matter of fact, I learned last night that the FBI, without invitation, which is very unusual in our country.
Yeah, why did the FBI jump right on top of it?
An alleged homicide or an alleged missing person case, they have jumped feet first into the disappearance of General McCasland. So
Yeah.
I find that very curious that they are taking jurisdiction in that case. And there are calls from Congress to have hearings on this issue of the missing and dead scientists. So apparently they are now getting involved. We showed a photo of Eskridge's red hands. What is that?
That was when she was working literally on that project for Homeland Security, and she was, I think, about 6 stories up, but they got hit with a directed energy weapon, and she got burnt on her hands, not on her face, I believe. It was on.
Keep on saying they got hit by a high-powered energy weapon, like it's just normal. Like everybody, I didn't know that these actually existed till now. So to hear him speak so freely about it, like, you know, it's a part of everyday life, is crazy to me. I never knew they had high-powered energy weapons, microwave weapons. I didn't know that.
Her hands. So something directed specifically at her hands. And there's another scientist. I actually sent you the videos. There's another scientist in the background, and you can hear him say it's a directed energy weapon, a microwave directed energy weapon. So there's 2 witnesses there, 2 scientists who are expert witnesses and able to describe exactly what is happening to them.
What is that? See, for many of us, that sounds like a futuristic movie plot, but it's not. It's in the here and now. Directed energy attack. What is it?
Well, there's her air-gapped computer there, and then she's basically being pounded with microwave weapons. She's saying in this case, it's basically they're trying to build a 3-dimensional picture of her hands to see what she's typing on, because she's removed the Wi-Fi card from the computer so that it can't be hacked, because she suffered so many hacking attempts. I mean, literally every other day, she was doing a completely clean install on all her computers.
What was it, Frank Milburn, that was so sensitive that she was working on?
Well, I mean, it could be, you either she had all this harassment that was leading up to it. So I presume that was, I assessed as wanting her to desist from the work. Okay, she was never offered a job. Nobody ever said, "Here's some money, come and work for us." It's like they wanted her to desist from it, and then they did these microwave energy weapons attack, knowing that would debilitate her, so that she would be unable to continue with her work slowly. And then eventually, because she was too stubborn, she ended up dying. Now, I can't say hand on my heart that was murder. What I can say, it was very, very suspicious. And you will say a lot of people saying, "Oh, she was off her meds, she was crazy, she was this or that." I spoke to her every day. She called me 4 hours before she died, and she said that she was feeling fine. Okay, now, did she have stress? Yes. Did she have PTSD? Certainly. Did she have hypervigilance? Certainly, because she was under constant attack the whole time, and anybody normal would. So, but she wasn't hallucinating. She wasn't delusional. You could see that every day. And she's going to work. She's in the car, talking to me for half an hour. She gets to work. She's talking to me again from work with her co-workers. This is someone who is functional and working at a very high level scientifically, a highly intelligent woman.
Now, you submitted findings regarding this to Congress, and you concluded Eskridge did not kill herself. Isn't that true?
Well, what I said is that it's highly suspicious, and I believe that she's been killed by an aerospace company, or as I said before, an actor that had the impunity and the ability to be able to act on the ground for so long. So I just think that we need to start looking at the directed energy weapon attack on her when she was doing on that project for Homeland Security, and then all the harassment, and then work forward from that and see how that could have led to her death. That would seem logical to me.
Question. Could you explain in very rudimentary terms what you mean by a directed energy attack? How does that work?
Okay, sure. So you have basically
speak on
there's a
it like
Russian guy
it's
who called
normal.
one, I believe, 2 years ago in the States, and it was in a congressional hearing in 24. You can have like a pickup truck or a vehicle. You have like a sort of an emitter. It's like it emits what's like kind of like microwaves, like you get in a microwave oven, but in a very focused way. So then you have like a power source as well, which you can carry in the vehicle. Then you point out the window, and it will go through dry walls as well. And depending on the power of the emitter, it could be anywhere from like 50 meters to 100 meters, maybe more. I don't claim to be a technical expert on directed energy weapons, but you point it where you want it to go. Presumably before that, you will have established a pattern of life, so you would know roughly where. Okay, so at 9 o'clock it goes down to the laboratory or whatever. And then you'd set up the directed energy weapon emitter in your vehicle and wait for her to be at a specific point in space and time, and then hit zap.
Frank, why are you speaking out?
Because she trusted me too, and it was what she wanted, and I really, didn't want to at all, because I know the upset that it brings to her family and her loved ones. I've had support from her co-workers and her friends who are saying, you need to do this. I was basically her dead lady switch. She trusted me. When I first met her and she first revealed who she was, and she started telling me about this, she said, because of your background, you will believe what I'm saying, because you will understand the tradecraft. She goes, if I go to the cops, they'll think I'm crazy, because this harassment was designed in such a way, going through the panty drawers and all the other things, was designed in such a way that if you went to the cops and said, this is what's going on, they would think that she was crazy. She said, you will not think I'm crazy. And she goes, if anything happens to me, here is all the evidence, and I want you to get it out there.
Joining us tonight is Frank Milburn, who knew
Crazy,
Amy Eskridge
right, guys?
very well. Eskridge had founded an institute, a research institute, with her father, and together they were exploring many advanced technological theories that suddenly, under her skilled hands, were no longer just theories, including anti-gravity jet propulsion. Frank, can you imagine
It ain't just science
what
fiction,
a foreign
guys.
entity or a private corporate entity would pay, what they would give, what they would do to get that knowledge, that technology that she had created?
Yeah, I think, maybe it was a case of developed it themselves, and they didn't want her, in her own words, an upstart a brilliant young scientist stealing their lunch, as Amy would say. But, that's the part of American democracy. If you can potentially subvert, local, state, and federal law enforcement. And I want to, I came forward as well because I want to prevent other scientists and other brilliant young scientists from being killed. I want to, the United States is my ally. I've always worked with Americans in and out of uniform, in peacetime and in war. So America is a country that I love, and I love America's people. And I think America is a great democracy. It's the greatest democracy in the world, and that has to be protected. And this kind of activity fundamentally is rot at the heart of that democracy, in my opinion.
Frank Milburn, you are risking a lot to come forward, and we are truly and deeply grateful.
It's crazy,
Thank you, Mr.
guys.
Milburn.
Well, thank you. And by having it out there, and I've sent you all the files, then if anything happens to me, then you've got another story, eh?
If anything happened to him.
I don't consider you a story. I consider you to be a very, very brilliant friend. And we will do our best to get Amy's facts, I don't want to say story, out there. I'm very disturbed by the autopsy findings that this was immediately determined to be a self-inflicted wound. Very curious. What is her family's position on this? Because I've noticed that the majority of the families connected to the missing and dead scientists refuse to give a statement. They don't want to put this out there. They don't want to be part of it. Why is that? It's almost as if they are afraid.
It's something
people are afraid, yes. I can't comment on the family. You'd have to ask them. In fact, don't ask them because they don't want to be asked. I know that for a fact. They don't want to have anything to do with this. It's the very last thing that they want. It's not going to bring their daughter back, and it's not going to bring my friend back. But if it can stop somebody else being killed or harassed and basically having their life ruined, because don't forget, Amy was completely isolated as well. She couldn't have a boyfriend. She couldn't see her friends. She couldn't do anything because anybody who was around her would be liable to attack as well. So, it was just a total isolation and a total spectrum harassment on her. And I'm very, very sorry for everything, and I'm very sorry for having to speak out, but I believe that it's fundamentally important to do so for all the reasons that I outlined.
We Americans think you British are way too polite. You do not have to apologize for telling the truth, ever. And we are deeply, as I said, grateful. I cannot ignore that before her death, she said, if you read, I committed suicide. I did not. I will not. I did not commit suicide. And then suddenly she's dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound in Huntsville, Alabama, where the NASA space station is. Thank you for being with us tonight, Mr. Milburn. Thank you.
Thank you for the attention that you've given it, and the dignity that you've given her, and I appreciate that very much from all across the media that I've spoken to so far. Thank you very much.
Crazy
question. Ever
crazy.
Thank you, friend.
It's something
at
most definitely
specific
going on with these
national
scientists.
research facilities. Many are connected by facilities such as Air Force Research Lab, Los Alamos, and more, NASA. In other words, more than one victim can be linked to a single facility and to each other. For instance, Chavez working with Casillas at Los Alamos, vanishing within weeks of each other, both having top clearance. But seemingly the connection is McCasland, John Nance.
It's not surprising for someone who was in his position to be connected to so many people in this R&D community. A particular note, I think, is Reza's work with what's called memory metal, and that's a little bit different than the material that you mentioned earlier. And to kind of go back to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base connection, this memory metal is believed by many people to be a material sciences direct descendant of material that was recovered at the Roswell crash and delivered to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. That information is not in dispute, that whatever was recovered from Roswell was delivered to Wright-Patterson. So her work with regard to that particular metal is a very, very interesting connection. I think people are afraid to speak out about this topic because, well, the government entities have been very, very successful in conducting a disinformation campaign with regard to the American public. So you mentioned UFO and people immediately begin to snicker, right? And that's because of the disinformation campaign conducted by members of our own intelligence community, and it's in large part for good reason. I think that the American public, as Burchett and Representative Luna and others have made very clear, the American public should be aware of this information. I think there are certain aspects of it that for national security reasons should probably remain classified, but the government shouldn't be hiding the fact that UAPs exist, and we have almost incontrovertible evidence to that fact. One of the hearings was attended by Lieutenant Commander Fravor, probably one of the most credible UAP witnesses that we've heard from, and he's the individual that was involved in the very famous Tic Tac video. And his testimony on Capitol Hill with regard to the capabilities of the unidentified phenomenon he witnessed far exceed anything that our material science can hope to achieve at this point.
Mr. Nance, you mentioned UAPs. I assume you're referring to unidentified anomalous phenomena.
Yes, that's correct. That's the new word for UFO.
And that is, yes. You know, that is precisely, Mr. Nance, why I have not mentioned UFOs since the beginning of tonight's program, because I do not like these victims to be thrown in the pot to stew with all the UFO and alien conspiracy theorists, because it minimizes the fact that these are brilliant scientists, all of them PhDs, brilliant in their field and known to be brilliant. As a matter of fact, Amy Eskridge actually worked with Homeland Security. And as did all of these scientists. They were all top level with secret security clearances. So the government is not going to allow that with a bunch of crackpots, very simply put. What do you make of the disappearance of McCasland? His wife did not say he committed suicide. His wife said he doesn't want to be found. And I know for a fact the mother, Melissa Cassius, would not willingly left her daughter just walk out without any ID, without phone, with nothing, and never seen again. Like this is like so many of the others. It's the MO, the modus operandi, the method of operation. They all just
What
walk
happened to
away
these scientists, guys?
with no identification and are never seen again. It is almost as if they are in fear for their families, obviously not in fear for themselves. There's Melissa right there. She just dropped off a Subway sandwich for her daughter, and she's never seen again. This is true of nearly all of the missing. What do you make of it, John?
Well, another interesting data point about Melissa's disappearance, I believe her husband stated that he observed her using her security card at the facility, and then later she made the statement that she needed to return home to retrieve her identification card. So that's a very, very strange data point with regard to her disappearance. And as to Amy Eskridge's story, the fact that she was working with Homeland Security would argue against these allegations that she was suffering from some sort of mental disorder or distress. I would assume she would have some level of security clearance with Homeland Security, especially given the type of thing that she was working on. I believe some sort of subway defense system. I don't really know a lot of the details about that, but
yes,
you don't.
I'm familiar with it, John. She was working on a project that would protect Americans on subways and other rapid transit. And she was heavily involved in that. So I find it difficult to believe that scientists working on a project for the government is crazy, for lack of a better word. Chris Millord joining us, Deputy Science Editor, Daily Mail. As a matter of fact, back to one of the victims that have received very little attention, and that is the mom I keep referring to, Melissa Cassius. Did you know, Chris, I'm sure you do, that when her effects were found there at her home that she left behind, both her work phone and her cell phone had been factory reset. Both of them had been wiped.
She reset it up phone. Wow.
That afternoon.
She knew she wasn't coming back.
Yeah, it is very highly unusual. Basically, she had a work phone, personal phone. Everything was left in her house, all of her possessions, her keys, and she walked out without them. For a phone to be completely reset, basically leaving no trace of who she was in contact with, highly unusual. The former intelligence agents that we've spoken to, former members of the FBI, definitely see something that needs to be investigated at the federal level. And onto, if I may veer off to Eskridge for a second, we also have her text messages provided by Frank Milburn regarding the threats against her life that we've just published as well, and the work that she was doing in this regard. So, I mean, these people left breadcrumbs for the world to find. And we're just trying to put these pieces together and ask the questions that haven't been asked at this point.
It's crazy, y'all.
You're on cross-examination. Who is our next sponsor? Well, here is a probative clue. Meow. Smalls.
Well, that's pretty much the end of basically talking about, what's going on with these scientists. 13 missing scientists, guys. 13. Not 11 anymore. It has spiked. It's jumped to 13, which is causing the House committee guys to want to speak when people can find out what's going on. Check this out.
Whether the disappearances and deaths of at least 10 national security insiders with reported links to top nuclear secrets are connected, or whether, or even worse, whether they were all targeted. The House Oversight Committee is now investigating, and today requested briefings with the Departments of War, Department of Energy, NASA, and the FBI. Committee Chairman James Comer and committee member Eric Burleson wrote that, quote, if the reports are accurate, these deaths and disappearances may represent a grave threat to U.S. national security.
Yeah, so the FBI is taking notice. Congress is taking notice. Why aren't the people taking notice? It's something going on.
And to U.S. personnel with access to scientific secrets. News Nation's been out front on this story since the very start. The cases are all very strange. Some and have a lot of similarities in common. They involve people who left their homes with no personal belongings and then simply disappeared. Some left home with a firearm before they vanished. Others were last seen on a highway or on a hike. At least 2 were in their homes. The highest profile person on the list is arguably retired Air Force Major General William McCasland. There's been speculation he oversaw a classified government UFO program. Last week, President Trump said the White House is looking into the reports, calling it, quote, pretty serious stuff. My next guest agrees. Congressman Eric Burleson was one of the first lawmakers to call for an investigation into these disappearances. He told me moments ago that something about this is not normal.
Yeah, most definitely is something.
Congressman, you say in this letter that this tends to be a, quote, grave threat to United States national security and to U.S. personnel with access to scientific secrets. Explain what you're worried about.
Well, obviously, we know that there are programs in the past where foreign countries have used programs to try to encounter, engage, sometimes get the nation's top scientists to either stop what they're doing or come and work for that country. And so whether it was Operation Paperclip, or most recently you have China that's been doing Operation Fox Hunt, as well as Operation Skynet. These are disturbing, but it is true that foreign actors do engage, and our scientific community are very vulnerable targets.
Do you think that, I mean, this is not an extraordinary set of coincidences, that in fact they may be linked?
I most definitely think they
right. What's fascinating about these individuals, they all were working in aerospace. They're working in whether it was in materials or propulsion. They were working with plasma research, all related to this topic. Well, that's fascinating. But what's really fascinating is the four individuals that stepped out of their home, left their phones behind, left their wallet, left everything behind.
Why did they leave
completely
everything?
Disappeared and never came back. That's not something that a normal person does. And the fact that it happened within 1 year, four people walked out of their home, never to be seen again, all of which were working together on these projects for the Department of Defense. That's very mysterious.
How sensitive were the projects these four and others were working on?
Those are our top projects. I mean, you have Monica Reza was working on the materials that would be used for any kind of hypersonic missile in the United States. That is a critical national security issue. The others were working on advanced propulsion for our Air Force. So they were all read in at the highest security levels one could possibly imagine.
We know that in the past, for example, Israel targeted Iranian nuclear scientists as a way to hurt Iran's nuclear program. What country do you think could or possibly be behind the disappearances of these top scientists?
I would not be surprised if adversaries, China, Russia, Iran, or any other adversary saw an opportunity to take out some of our nation's top scientists. I would not be shocked. It certainly is something that I would hope that our federal government is keenly aware of and trying to safeguard. But look, these scientists are not hardened. They don't have security detail. So they would be a very easy target. And that's something that has me worried for the rest of our nation's scientists. The other thing that concerns me is if there's nothing fishy here, and
y'all think China, Russia, you know what I'm saying, these other foreign countries, Iran, may have something to do with these missing scientists. People are saying UFOs. I know that sounds crazy, but they're most definitely bringing aliens into this.
Just had mental breakdowns. That tells you maybe there's something we should be doing to address the mental health of some of our scientists.
You've been a prominent voice in Congress calling for an investigation since these disappearances came to light. You wrote letters to the FBI, to NASA, and the Departments of Energy and War requesting briefings. Have you gotten a response from any of those departments?
Not yet. We originally sent a letter related to a military intelligence officer that's not related to these scientists per se. That is another common topic as well. So we've sent the letters for the scientists. We've also been sending letters for people that we know were, maybe they weren't a scientist, but they were working alongside these same programs and projects, but they were on the military intelligence side. So we have sent letters as well, and we're hopeful now that the president is paying attention that we'll start to get some answers.
Yeah, the president said late last week that he was looking into this and had directed the White House to look into it. Have you been in touch with President Trump? Have you heard from the White House in any way?
I have not directly. Look, I'm the 435th most powerful member of Congress, so I am not exactly on their call list, but I would welcome a conversation with the White House anytime.
Finally, because I know you've done a lot of work on this issue as well, I spoke to journalist and UFO investigator Jeremy Corbell on Friday night, just moments after President Trump vowed to release the UFO files and 46 videos. Do you have any information on when that will happen?
I don't know. The president says that it's imminent, so hopefully that's soon. I hope that he is really doing the diligent work of gathering this information. You know, the intelligence community it's a hard nut to crack. I think that what we saw with the JFK files and those released is that he had to be pretty forceful in order to get some of those files away from the CIA, for example. Mm-hmm. It's my hope that the president is truly trying to not take no for an answer and is going to press hard to get these files, because I think there's a lot of information out there between the CIA and the Department of Energy. I think that's the first place that I would be demanding information from.
Yeah, Congress has been pushing hard for quite some time to get more access and to make public more of this information, because a huge amount of it has been kept under lock and key, very secret.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been very hard for us in the oversight committee to get anything. But I mean, we have a lot of people that come to us. Many of those videos, the 45 videos that were requested, I've seen. But because we have a lot of whistleblowers and people in the intelligence community that are coming to talk to members of Congress, because we can be read in at any classification level. And you've got some people working in the system that are doing their patriotic duty, which is why we're aware of these videos and that they do exist. But we want the American people to see these videos. The American people deserve to know.
What do you think their reaction will be once they see them, having seen them yourself?
I think that we have a lot of footage that's similar to the gimbal video. We have footage that's similar to the Go Fast. There's some that are in pretty good clarity. I've seen a metallic silver orb that's about the size of a beach ball in very clear imagery. Mm-hmm. And then there's some videos of immediate acceleration of a flying object. And that's not something that it just defies any normal propulsion or physics that we know of.
It sounds like the American public, in your opinion, will be pretty surprised to see these videos then.
I think so. The thing that I'm still looking for is smoke gun. That definitive video that says that we are not alone. The things that I've seen are very mysterious. We don't seem to have an explanation for them, but there's nothing that definitively proves that they're from another planet.
Congressman Eric Burleson, thank you so much, and keep us posted on when you get us briefing on these disappearances. Really important. And
if you haven't time to subscribe to the channel, man, subscribe to the channel, guys. Subscribe. We on the road to 63K as we find out more about these missing scientists, guys, their jobs, in the mysterious ways that they came up missing or unalive.
Disturbing stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to ask you about something you've been front and center on, which is releasing and the government being more transparent around the issue of these UFO files and these UFO videos. President Trump, is vowing to release more than 45 videos and UFO files. And you have said, quote, you would be up all night if the things that I've seen are released. What are you talking about?
Well, again, I'm in a skiff when I view these things, and we're not allowed to talk about it. But a
lot of people are saying
we've had testimony. You've seen 11 people have either died or disappeared that have been close to this issue. Whether that's a coincidence or not, if there was 11 members of the media like yourself disappear. We have 11 barbers or 11 rabbis. I don't care. I think America demands some answers. And for some reason, this is kind of, people are kind of hands off with this thing. But I think that I'll just say this. It's not about little green men or flying saucers. It's about what we're spending tens of millions, possibly billions of your dollars on. And we deserve transparency. I sit in a meeting and some guy with a man bun tells me that the president is on a need-to-know basis. That to me says we've overstepped bounds.
I'll always be dubious of the men in man bun. We had Congressman Burleson on the show last night. He said that these videos show a lot of very mysterious stuff, put it, but that he has seen no evidence so far of anything that is definitively extraterrestrial life. Would you agree with that assessment?
Possibly. I guess it depends on what you do. I haven't been in some of the meetings at Burleson, and he hasn't been in some that I've been in. But when you have some of the best pilots in the world are military trained pilots who risk literally retribution. When they come off the flight line, I'm not sure if that's the terminology, but when they come off the flight line and they've seen something and they get an 8-hour interrogation, get a blemish on their record for saying stuff, but yet they're still coming forward with information. And these people are seeing something out there. I've seen pictures and video of things that defy any reason that we have. And everybody says, well, it's our stuff. It's the Russians. It's the Chinese. If the Chinese, ma'am, they would own us. If it was the Russians, it wouldn't be bogged down in Ukraine. If it was ours, we would never risk our military fighting men and women and $500 million aircraft out with these things and that they're spotting. These things can hover for hours on end. Then they can just shoot straight up. They can do angles. Had an admiral sitting right here in my office telling me about a craft they saw almost big as a football field on sonar well, they didn't see, it was on sonar. It was traveling over 200 miles an hour underwater. We don't have anything with that capability or that size. So at some point, look, I don't know, just put it out there and let people decide. I have my own theories about what it is, but I would hope that America could I think they can handle it. I just don't think our government and their arrogance is it's power. It's about control, and it's arrogance. It's everything that runs Washington, D.C., man. And we deserve to know the truth. All right. Congressman Tim Burchett, always great to talk to you. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. There's 10 or 11 American scientists. They're all missing. They all had ties to UFO research. That's what you've been hearing, right? It's not true. Some of them, we know how they died. It's not a mystery. Some did have connections to UAP research, not all of them. So let's separate fact from fugazi here with News Nation investigative journalist Ross Coulthart. It's good to have you, Ross. Thank you very much. And thank you for how discerning you've been on this. What is right? What is wrong?
G'day, Chris. Firstly, I think it's a case of overreach. I think the whole story started in February the 27th when Major General Neil McCasland retired, disappeared from Albuquerque. And it was pointed out that whilst his disappearance is still unsolved, there was a colleague that he briefly worked with, Monica Razor, who was involved in the development of a rocket engine alloy called Mondaloy, and she disappeared in very curious circumstances in the Andes Hills. Frankly, that's about the only connection that I can see in any of these cases that convincingly links back to General McCasland. The rest of the cases, some of them, frankly, are simple, in some cases, suicides or murders. Sadly, people do die. And it's been a long, simple fact of history that one of the things that media love is clusters and conspiracies. And I think in this case, what we're seeing is a pulling together of disparate cases where people have died or disappeared in circumstances that are often quite mundane and explainable. And I think it's being talked up in a way that I think is a big red herring. In and of itself, the disappearance of both Monica Razor and General Neil McCasland should be a national security concern. And it's good to see the FBI, less to see the Department of Energy, frankly, investigating this issue. I think that the White House is to be applauded for taking it seriously, but I do question the idea that there is any link at all between the 10 or 11 individuals that we're talking about.
Yeah, and Ross, it was really important to me to have you on this because a lot of the reporting that we do on UAPs and the need for transparency is often swept up with exactly what you're calling out right now, where people take a point of curiosity and make it a conclusion, or they take correlation and they make it causation, and we get blamed for that. And I thought it was really important that people see the first one to jump on something that doesn't make sense. And that I think it actually emboldens us to keep pushing for transparency about what we do know makes sense, which is a lot more about the universe of discovery behind UAPs than the government has wanted to tell us. And I know the president once again told them to release files. The third time he told them to release the same files, and it hasn't happened. Last word to you.
Well, frankly, I think we're all waiting to see whether the president's going to follow up with an executive order that puts his promise into law, Chris, because at the moment it's all jaw, and there's a lot of war going on in the Middle East. Let's see if the president follows up with actually doing something about his promise. We would like to see what the government does know about UAPs. And frankly, I think this whole conspiracy theory about 10 or 11 so-called scientists or military officials is a big red herring.
Okay, let me pivot to this. Chairman of the House Oversight Committee taking the lead on this investigation into these missing dead scientists. And Congressman, you just can't ignore the numbers. At least 11 dead or missing. What about all of this is keeping you up at night?
Well, the fact that this has been going on slowly over the past couple of years, and we're just now learning about this. So some of the agencies that are involved have apparently been looking into this for several months. But it's my knowledge that the FBI just became aware of it within the last 2 days. I think that's unacceptable because if you look at all the missing people or deceased people that were involved in our nuclear program and how they died and the facts of their disappearances, then it raises a lot of red flags. And this is an issue of national security. Now, I don't know if they're all related or not, but the odds that they're not related are very slim, I think. And hopefully we can get information from different agencies we've requested, NASA, the Department of Defense, the FBI, as well as the Department of Energy, and put them together. Because what I found as chairman of the House Oversight Committee over the last 3 years, a lot of government agencies don't cooperate. They don't share information. So they're a missing link that's in clear sight once you get the information, because some of these employees have been with 4 different agencies, and apparently the agencies have been looking into this, but I don't think they've cooperated until now, and that's why none of them are talking. Hopefully they are now, but we won't take the lead and see what's going on here.
Yeah, and Congressman, I also know you have said before, we know that there are many countries across the world who would love to have this information, these nuclear secrets, sensitive information, and that there are people that were at the forefront of it. Congressman Burleson was on our air last night echoing the exact same sentiments. Are you pointing your finger at any specific adversary of ours, China, Iran, Russia?
Well, they're the usual suspects, but what we see in cyber attacks, they're from countries that would be hard for the average American to identify on the globe. So there are a lot of countries that are creating mischief every day. This is a dangerous world. That's why one reason we're where we are in Iran. But with respect to our nuclear technology, many countries would love to have our intellectual property with respect to our nuclear secrets. And that's why this is an issue of national concern. I do not think on surface that it's a coincidence and that they're related, but we're going to try to get the information. And I know the fact that we've announced the investigation, the FBI has really ramped up their investigation of this as well. I think every American that's keeping up with this is scratching their head and realizes this doesn't pass the smell test.
Yeah.
Nuclear scientists missing or deceased, that's a huge problem.
Absolutely.
Let's go, Congressman. Let's go.
What's being done to protect scientists right now in classified fields? Should they be worried?
Well, I think so. And that's one reason we've reached out to these government agencies. We're getting briefings from them now. We want to make sure that not only do the employees know there's a potential threat out there, but that the agencies are providing adequate security and ensuring that at the end of the day, not only are the employees protected, but the intellectual property is protected as well. Because if these are related, the reason that these people have died mysteriously and are missing is because of the intellectual property that by all accounts, the United States has the superior nuclear program in the world. So all the usual suspects, China, North Korea, Iran, Russia, they're all, on the suspect list, but there are a lot of, Eastern European countries and other countries that could be involved as well, or it could be a coincidence. We're going to try to do everything we can to find out and report back to the American people.
I know you called this something sinister as well.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe.
All right, so that was a little bit, from News Nation on this entire situation. Okay, I told y'all about the missing general, guys. Here goes the press conference where they released the details about him missing, guys. The general. Check this out.
Current status of Mr. McCasland. He remains missing, and I will discuss a lot of the items that you see up here on the screen. The silver alert still remains in effect, and I will get that updated here shortly. There is no confirmed sightings to this date, and we'll provide some new information here to you here shortly. Agency roles. The Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, we are the lead investigative agency. Again, as I mentioned before, FBI here in Albuquerque are a great partner that we have, assisting specifically, as you can see, when we have tools, tactics, or any other techniques that can be utilized to assist in any investigation, just not missing persons. In any case that we are here investigating in Albuquerque, it's a great asset to have. The Air Force of Special Investigations, acronym is AFOSI. They help us as needed. I'm an honorary base commander with the Kirtland Air Force Base, so we have a great relationship with them also. Whenever we have someone in a military status or anything as far as Mr. McCasland, it's important for us to communicate with the Air Force Base, just not here, but also around the nation. Also, the New Mexico DPS and New Mexico State Police Search and Rescue, and coordinating search and rescue and all of the resources. Without them, we've had a lot of stuff in the foothills, the mountains as of late, just not specific to this case, but very important to use those resources also. It's vast. It's a lot of square mileage. There's a lot of hidden areas. There's rocky areas. There's areas people can get injured in. Very important to have all the necessary tools in that respect. Also, the volunteer search and rescue teams. They are a lot of people don't remember or that they're left out a lot of times. They're volunteer from all over the state, and they respond all over, and they assist us, our open space units, on a consistent basis. I'd like to personally thank every one of them for helping us in this case, as we might be searching as we go forward. I'll give you a timeline of what transpired. We've been on our social media. We've done some press releases on the timelines, making sure that you're all caught up to date. I'm not here to say that's not a lot of information we can't share. I want to make sure that we have all of our facts, dot our I's and cross our T's, so all of the facts are there. So the verified timelining, or time morning of February 27th of 2026 at 10 a.m., a repairman was at the residence and he interacted with Mr. McCasland. And as you move over to 11:10 a.m., Mrs. McCasland, Wilkerson.
This is about the missing general, guys.
At 12:04 p.m., Mr. McCasland returned home, or Mrs. McCasland returned home, and Mr. McCasland was not there. As we move further, at 3:07 p.m., items at the home, phone, prescription glasses, wearable devices, he was reported missing, and Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office responded, took a report, and the investigation began into a missing persons case. During this investigation and the search efforts, we did provide a neighborhood canvas, and it was expanded and it was vast. It was 700 homes. This is when you saw us come out in the media to ask, and go with our QR code for any video, for any intel, for any technology devices that you had, for any recordings of Mr. McCasland or anything suspicious during that time. This is what we asked for. We will continue to ask for that. If you come across any information, which you will see on another slide, please continue to give us that information. We will exhaust every lead and go over every tip we have to make sure that we do not miss anything. Again, the public are our eyes and ears. We work for you, and we would like you to assist us and make sure that we can bring this case to some type of resolution, no matter what that is, but we ask for your help and continued help. Video request and review is still ongoing. Search efforts have included drones, helicopter support, ground operations, and numerous canine searches. There has been no confirmed video or sighting showing the direction of travel that Mr. McCasland took.
This is about the general, guys, that came up missing, along with the
follow-up was
scientists.
conducted on his recent travel. And the new information that I can give you also is we are conducting a Pagosa Springs home that was searched, and it is ongoing. Next slide, please. Items
This
located
is about
during
the
the
13 missing
search, as you can
scientists
see here, is
and
a
the
United
missing
States Air Force
general.
shirt. It's a gray U.S. Air Force sweatshirt located approximately 1.25 miles east of the residence.
Thank you, Vic.
March 7th. It was collected and processed. No blood was detected in the initial processing. Not confirmed by family or friends to be associated with Mr. McCasland, but since this evidence did have United States Air Force and we are still testing it, we take every lead into an account, and we're making sure that that lead takes us somewhere and it will still be logged into evidence. From this, it prompted an additional targeted search in the area, and that is also where the Federal Bureau of Investigation assisted us and numerous other detectives to not only do a neighborhood canvass, but a grid search of the area to look for any other evidence in the field, on paths, or any other known area of travel that Mr. McCasland took. I told you on the silver alert, and let me clear up a couple of questions. Everybody's asking why a silver alert on Mr. McCasland. With New Mexico state statute, a silver alert does not require a formal diagnosis of any mental deterioration. The reason being also is because Mr. McCasland is over 50 years of age. He did state that he was experiencing a mental fog. And because of this information that we received, we decided to do a silver alert. Mr. McCasland, it was confirmed, was looking in to some of his mental fog, but out of respect for the family, I will not go into any further detail on the state of any of his any type of mental issues.
This is about the Air Force general, guys.
That came up here over the weekend. Items recently located is a light green long sleeve button up outdoor shirt, hiking boots, but please remember, let's be practical. Mr. McCasland probably had more than one pair of hiking boots.
So,
located at his Pagosa Springs house were these items. Items that are still unaccounted for are his wallet, a .38 caliber revolver, and a leather holster. I will have Lieutenant Kyle Woods go over some other details of belongings that Mr. McCasland possibly had, and any other further details in the investigation to answer some of your questions. And also, as you see in the picture, a red backpack.
These are all things he had he took with him, guys.
How can you
before
help?
he wound up
Again,
missing.
as I stated before, checking your video from the timelines of February 27th and February 28th. Our priority window, being our most concerned window, is the 27th at 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. that afternoon. Any doorbell, Ring cameras, Nest cameras, home cameras, business cameras, dash cams, trail footage, GoPros, phones. Please, as you can see, the QR code to your left, if you can scan that in, it goes into evidence.com, and detectives will comb over the tips and the footage and be very thorough looking over tips. To the right is our tip 411, or you can call 468-7070. This has, you can scan the QR code also. We've had a bunch of tips that have came in. Approximately on tip 4 and 1, we've had 26 tips. And on the QR code to the left, we have had 48 tips, and that's 74 total tips just through our technology, not to account for tips that are also going into the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Let me be straight. We've had a lot of tips, and we will go through every tips, but there are some tips with some outlandish theories, conspiracy theories. We're looking at everything, but we are trying as a law enforcement agency, an entity, we look into facts to make sure that we can retrace before Mr. McCasland went missing, and to also make sure that we're looking for any clues, for anything that was nefarious, for anything that was violent, for if he was just lost, any of those tips. But some of the tips coming in, I don't want to say that they're wasting our time, because we would never say that, but they are tedious to go through, and we're getting a lot of rabbit hole tips. We're looking for things on that day and things that have possibly happened to Mr. McCasland.
Police are searching for a retired Air Force general who vanished in New Mexico. William McCasland went missing last month. Members of Congress are warning this could be a national security issue. The general was involved with the Pentagon's most advanced aerospace research. He oversaw a classified space weapons program. McCasland was in charge of the Air Force Research Lab at a base in Ohio. It's rumored that base holds extraterrestrial debris from the Roswell crash site. The general was tied in with the UFO community. A source told the New York Post the general was a gatekeeper for anything UFO related.
The general was a
He retired
gatekeeper.
due to mental fog, but investigators say
Worked
he's
at
still
Area
highly
51,
intelligent and
guys.
capable. McCasland was an avid hiker. His wife last saw him leaving with a backpack and a .38 revolver. No phone, no glasses. He disappeared
Just like the
6
scientists,
days
guys.
right after Trump announced he was releasing the UFO files. And he's not the only one. 8 months before the general vanished, a rocket scientist who worked under him years ago also went missing. She was hiking in California with 2 other people. They saw her smiling and waving 30 feet behind them. When they turned back again, she was gone, vanished in sight. They searched for days and couldn't find any trace of her. This is a very, very strange situation. And 11 days before the general disappeared, another scientist was shot dead on his porch. Carl Grillmar.
What is
was known for
going on with
discovering
these
signs of
scientists,
water
guys?
on a distant planet. He was gunned down in California. Freddie Snyder was later charged with his murder. He had a rap sheet, but was let out of jail by a Newsom-appointed judge weeks before he allegedly killed the scientist. We still don't know his motive. And we don't know if these cases are even connected. But this many top scientists getting killed or going missing in just under a year looks like a major red flag.
Absolutely.
Chris Swecker is a former assistant FBI
A
director.
major
Chris,
red flag. What's going
the
on
line
with this
goes
general?
to a
What
foreign
happened to these
intelligence
people?
service. Is that where your gut tells you this is going towards?
Well, yeah, it is, Jess. I mean, I understand the UFO angle has a lot of interest, and people love to kind of dabble in that area with their theories. But if you look at these two, they were both involved in very, very sensitive rocket propulsion programs associated with missiles and space travel. And there was one particular piece of technology, a certain type of metal that really liberated us from having to rely on Russian Soviet technology back in the day. So it's really sensitive stuff, and I'm not a big believer in coincidences. So, you know, if I were heading up the FBI field office or the FBI right now, I would have a full team on this one just to make sure. I mean, I everything, dissect their lives, and just see if there's any connection to some hostile foreign intelligence service. They want information. They've been working to get it for years and years. You know, India, Pakistan, even some of our friends are trying to get that type of technology.
You say some of our friends.
Stop at nothing to get it.
Yeah, we did hear reports that the UFOs that were recovered are being exploited to, I guess, take advantage of whatever technology that's so advanced so we could apply that to our military. And there's kind of an arms race. You know, who could ramp up this UFO technology the fastest? Would that be a motive, and also a financial motive too?
Well, I mean, the motivation to get your hands on that technology cuts both ways. You know, they would like to socially engineer their way into it, get it that way, get it through some sort of other methods that they use, or getting into our military bases with plants. And in some cases, they'll compromise the scientists, and that, you know, that can lead to problem. Of course, to lead to problems. But he left with a .38 caliber weapon and a backpack, and no wallet, no phone. So you wonder what he was really up to here. You know, did he anticipate not coming back? No wallet, no phone, and what was he doing with the .38 caliber weapon? So you wonder if he was, you know, if he had been compromised and he was going to, you know, take the extreme measures to deal with it himself.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever heard of situations where foreign scientists are abducted and then captured for intelligence?
Yeah, there are examples of that. Most of them we haven't heard about. They're classified. But you know, the Israelis have done this with the nuclear scientists, with hostile services that they've been very proactive in that area. We've taken a few of them out. That they have, maybe with our assistance, maybe not. And it wouldn't be the first time. It happened during World War II. We were targeting German scientists. They were targeting ours. And that's where that whole...
In which I think the people just want to know what's going on, man. They just want to know what's going on.
All the James Bond stuff around nuclear propulsion, space travel, you know, all of the weaponry that come out of that through missile technology.
And you're ruling out this was an alien abduction. You're ruling that out? I'm not sure if you're a believer, Chris.
I'm not going to go there, Jesse. You know, that's I'll leave that to the
There's plenty of theories out there. Some of them lean towards aliens, guys.
We can crack this case. It's serious stuff. Chris, thank you as always. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest.
All right, so we got a little bit, you know what I'm saying, a little bit more involving this general, guys. Let's get more into the general that came up missing, guys. I mean, this is crazy. Where did the scientists go? And where is this general?
68-year-old retired Air Force officer has been missing since February 27th in Albuquerque, New Mexico. A silver alert has been issued, reserved for older missing people, sometimes who have health-related issues. Now, to be clear, this isn't just any missing senior citizen, no. This is Major General William Neil McCasland, a former commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory, the organization responsible for advanced military technology and science. He also worked on space systems and special programs at the Pentagon, projects that were so classified that many inside the government never even got to see them. And here's where the story really gets strange. The base that he once led, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, is historically linked to Project Blue Book. This is the reporting of the U.S. military's official
Project Blue Book,
UFO sightings.
where he was working is linked to that, guys. That got people talking.
So when somebody like that disappears, you know people start asking questions, particularly since McCasland had disappeared right after the president announced that he was directing the release of UFO and extraterrestrial materials. So you can see why there are those online who are fully into theory mode right now, right? The FBI, multiple other agencies are now involved in this search. I want to bring in somebody who's
Congress wants to speak about it. I'm just saying, it's a lot going on, guys.
Has very important implications. Ross Coulthart is an investigative journalist who hosts News Nation's very popular Reality Check podcast, covers the stories that the mainstream media is too afraid to touch. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You called this a grave national security crisis. Why?
Good evening, Jesse. Well, Major General McCasland, as you rightly noted, was an extremely senior commander at the Air Force Research Laboratories, which does a lot of materials, aerospace, weapons research for the US Air Force and indeed the entire US Defense Department. He was in that role until 2013, and I'm told he was very, very highly cleared, very respected. And of course, as you rightly noted, Air Force Research Laboratories, Wright Pat, is the location where the rumoured UAP materials from the 1947 Roswell incident were taken. It's long been rumoured to be a repository for top secret materials that were recovered from alleged non-human craft. And of course, McCasland has been named previously in leaked emails that associated him with a plan back during the Clinton-Trump campaign, where John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, was involved
all the way back to the Clintons.
General McCasland and another general from the US Air Force about what was clearly an intention to declassify and release UFO secrets to the American public.
He has a wealth of information, a storied career. The circumstances surrounding his disappearance are bizarre, to say the least. No clear direction of travel, no identified clothing. That's what makes this so odd. Before we even get into the allegation of, let's say, someone took him.
That's as loud as it goes.
Can we just cut right through it? I mean, the idea that he disappears right after the announcement that there's going to be a release of these UFO files, these UAP files, extraterrestrial files. I know a lot of people are trying to make a connection. Is there anything you're seeing besides it just being a very strange coincidence?
It's an alarming synchronicity. I think we can put it at that, Jesse. We do know that General McCasland was well respected by people who were pushing for UAP disclosure, including very senior people in Hillary Clinton's campaign back in 2016. We know he was...
Can we get 30 more people on that like button, guys? Double tap that screen. If you have not, that's how you hit the like button, or you can 3 in the right hand corner and hit the thumbs up. That's another way to hit the like button. But most definitely hit that like button, guys, and subscribe to the channel if you're new, as we find out more about this missing general, guys.
Planning to disclose UAP secrets in what was expected to be a Clinton presidency. And it's really interesting that this follows so closely, his disappearance follows so closely on the heels of President Trump's announcement that is intending to declassify UFO files. A promise, by the way, which the president hasn't followed up on yet.
Well, Iran, I mean, that took center stage. Let me ask you this. Speaking of which, just got to throw it out here. If he was, let's say, kidnapped, who would want to take him? What would be some countries
Thank you, Andrew.
Say, wow, if they got a hold of this guy, you know, he's a wealth of information. He has the secrets. He could be useful to what we're building or developing.
Well, we're 10 days now into his disappearance, and I've walked those tracks around him in Albuquerque. I actually tried to meet him by leaving a letter in his letterbox once and hoping I'd bump into him while he was on the trails, because I heard he was a runner. It's not a place where you would just disappear, even if you are medically incapacitated. Powers, China, Russia. The general has a lot of the most sensitive secrets of the United States locked up in his head. Before he became the commander of the Air Force Research Laboratories, he was the director of special programs inside the Pentagon, handling some of the most sensitive secrets at the very top of the Department of Defense. This is cleared for some of the biggest secrets in the United States military and intelligence community.
The other way of looking at it is, and again, since there's no definitive proof or announcement of foul play, is a silver alert being issued. We've seen it happen before. People have some sort of medical issue, perhaps a mental health issue. I'm not saying that's the case here, but even so, it would be strange that he would, potentially disappear on his own and not be found. However, this is an individual
said that he didn't want to be found
outdoors, right? And you do wonder, would he have the capabilities to disappear and not be found?
I've spoken to friends of his, and I've also read a statement by his wife, Susan, and they've made it very clear that there was no mental incapacity, that the general was extremely fit. He'd cycled 60 miles the previous weekend. He's well known for being a trail runner, an extremely fit, agile, mentally alert man. I suspect the silver alert purely and simply because he requires medication he has to take which is just prescribed by his doctors, there's no indication that there was any kind of illness that would lead to him being incapacitated in some way and unable to return home. It's also unusual, Jesse, he left his phone at home. It's a real question mark. It's almost as if, was he going out to meet somebody and he wanted to be tracked or listened to? What is also puzzling a lot of his friends is the low-key nature of the FBI investigations. This is a very senior former Pentagon general, a man with some of the most sensitive national secrets in his head. It really isn't featured much at all in any media releases by local sheriffs or by the FBI. Right. It's an extremely low-key approach.
And they're getting a ton of resources to this, multiple agencies. Ross Coulthart, thank you for being on top of this. We're going to be on top of this as well. You can watch Ross's podcast, Reality Check, on Nation YouTube channel. Thanks so much for taking the time, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I want to talk about another case with the time we
Crazy.
have.
All right. So let's take that because that don't got nothing to do with it. So we got, some more news basically on the general, guys, who just mysteriously came up missing, going on a hike, guys. All right. So we got more into this situation. It says 5 conspiracy theories and missing UFO general, guys. Let's see what he got going on over here. Shout out to everybody that's in the building, man. I think we're 10 likes away from 200, guys. If you have not, double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button. You can support the channel simply hitting the like button. It's free.
Beginning back when it was just a silver alert and a worried family. Silver alert, usually issued for older adults, more vulnerable adults. Sometimes there's health issues involved, but this is weird. And this is all before the internet started, spinning theories. Here's where the story takes a turn. This missing man is William Neal McCasland. And this is a new photo that authorities have just released showing what McCasland was wearing right before he disappeared. And I want you to take a good look at
what he had on.
Okay? Because McCasland didn't just serve in the Air Force. He once commanded the exact laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the same base where conspiracy theorists have long claimed is where the government secretly stored wreckage from Roswell, the Roswell incident. But it gets stranger because McCasland's name shows up in hacked emails between Hillary Clinton's former campaign manager, John Podesta, and Blink-182 guitarist Tom DeLonge discussing UFO disclosure. And then just days before McCasland disappeared, President Donald Trump announced plans to release government UFO files. Coincidence? Maybe. But also, how do I not talk about that? Is something far stranger happening out in the New Mexico desert? Was he taken by a bad actor who wanted the information that he had? Or is this a tragic circumstance? Is this a personal circumstance? We have been tracking this case since day one. And now with all of these theories piling up and still no sign of McCasland, we're going to try to break down everything that people are saying online, right? From kidnapping to a possible national security issue to, yes, the mothership, that comes up too. So we're going to get a guest on who's going to help kind of separate what's real, what's speculation, what investigators might actually be looking at right now. Because trust me, you're not going to believe where this story goes. We have some new information that was just released from the Bernalillo County Sheriff, giving us a bit more information on McCasland's whereabouts prior to his disappearance. I mentioned the timeline. So I want to take you back where all this started with what we are now learning about this timeline. So we have Friday, February 27th. It's a quiet morning in the foothills of Albuquerque, New Mexico. The Sandia Mountains are right there, beautiful, rugged, the kind of place people move to for the views, the access to the outdoors. Now, according to the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, which is the lead agency on this case,
which we just watched their press conference.
Around 10 a.m., a repairman arrives at a home on Quail Run Court for a scheduled job. And while he's there, he interacts with the homeowner, a 68-year-old retired Air Force general named William Neal McCasland. That interaction is confirmed. And it is apparently the last confirmed sighting of him. About an hour later, at around 11:10 a.m., McCasland's wife leaves the house for a medical appointment. And when she returns just before 12:04 p.m., the house is empty. Now, according to friends who spoke with the Dayton Daily News, McCasland is the kind of guy who loves the outdoors, an avid hiker, a skier, biker, someone comfortable navigating the rough terrain. So at first glance, you might be thinking, okay, maybe he just stepped out for a walk or an activity. But this is where it gets strange, because according to the sheriff's office, McCasland left behind his phone, which was still sitting on the counter, his prescription glasses, his wearable devices, including his Apple Watch, all
anything
still
that
inside
could
the
track
home.
him, guys.
So for someone to walk out the door in 2026 with things, it's a little weird, right? And by around 3 p.m. that afternoon, his wife reports him missing. And investigators, they quickly issue what is known as a silver alert. Early information suggested that McCasland might have had some kind of medical issue, which led many people to assume, his age, does he have dementia or Alzheimer's, some sort of mental health condition. But we're going to come back to that because his wife would later address that directly and make it very clear that was not the case. But you do have a missing person. You have a retired Air Force Major General. And according to his official U.S. Air Force biography, this is the guy who spent 34 years working on some of the most sensitive technology the U.S. military has: astronautical engineering, space acquisition.
Working on some of the most advanced technology the military has, guys, and just mysteriously come up missing. Come on.
Reconnaissance office, the spy satellite people, the Pentagon, eventually command of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. Again, that's the lab that, according to his bio, managed a $2.2 billion science and technology program, plus another $2.2 billion in customer-funded research and development. And here's why that matters for the UFO connection, because according to an article that was
somebody this high profile don't just come up missing. Let's be real.
Published by Ohio State University, Wright-Patterson was the headquarters of Project Blue Book, the government's 17-year investigation into UFOs that looked at nearly 13,000 reported sightings. That's been the report. And for decades, conspiracy theorists have claimed that is where the government took the debris from the Roswell incident in 1947. So those claims, I will be clear, have never officially been confirmed, but the association's there. So day one comes and goes. There's no signs of him. Day two, day three, nothing. And then the searches begin. According to the sheriff's office, they started canvassing the neighborhood. We're talking more than 700 homes, going door to door, asking for ring camera footage, security video, anything that might have caught a glimpse of McCasland leaving the area, drone operations, helicopter support, ground searches with search and rescue teams, K-9 units, horses, volunteers. They're scouring the foothills, the trails, the open space around his home. And then on March 7th, more than a week into the search, investigators find something. The sheriff's office reported they located a gray U.S. Air Force sweatshirt about 1.25 miles east of McCasland's residence. They collected it, they processed it, and according to their statement, no blood was detected during initial analysis and additional testing is pending. They also noted that the family has not been able to confirm the sweatshirt actually belonged to McCasland, but it was enough to send search teams back out to that area. And by the 2-week mark, the sheriff's office releases this new photo showing McCasland wearing a button-up shirt. This is very, very crucial, by the way, because this is the shirt that investigators now say they believe he was wearing when he disappeared. I want you to look at this picture here, okay? They also confirm some other items are accounted for.
It still hasn't been found, guys.
Wallet, a .38 caliber revolver, the Lester. And meanwhile, the FBI is also now involved. According to BCSO, the Albuquerque field office started assisting. The Air Force Office of Special Investigations also looped in. New Mexico State Search and Rescue, Albuquerque Mountain Rescue. It's a multi-agency effort now. And still, according to the sheriff's latest update, there's no confirmed sightings, no video of him leaving, no direction of travel, nothing as far as we can see, at least as far as they're coming out with information. And that is when the internet started doing what the internet does. Because when a retired Air Force general with ties to Wright-Patterson disappears,
just come up missing, yeah, it
and his name has to appear in hacked emails discussing UFO disclosure, that's when people start to talk, right? And trust me, they have, from kidnapping to national security
to UFOs.
So what exactly are people claiming happened here? And what does McCasland's wife have to say about all of this? That is what we're going to get into next, because while the internet has been running wild with speculation, his wife finally broke her silence. And what she said is, well, she addressed the elephant in the room head on, and she brought up the thing that everybody's been asking about, the aliens. Before we even get to that, and before we even get into the theories, we wanted to bring in somebody who can help us understand what might actually be happening behind the scenes, because it's very easy to get lost in the UFO chatter, right? But at the end of the day, there are real investigations working this case. You have a missing persons case. How different is this one compared to other ones? This is why I now want to bring in private criminal defense investigator Billy Lane. Such a pleasure to always have him. Billy, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about this. Do you find it strange that he hasn't been found?
No. A lot of it depends on the area in which he went missing from. Had searches that go on for months. Typically within 30 days is a normal good time frame to try and locate somebody and bring them back home. So as you had mentioned, there's a lot going on with this search, with the disappearance of him. And I think sometimes that brings in good and bad, because it can bring in additional resources like the federal government, like the military. But the bad part is that sometimes you lose focus on the fact that this is a missing man. Just like in a lot of other cases, he's a dad, he's a brother, a husband, a friend.
It's in general, guys. Just comes up missing.
Possibly chose to leave his home on his own accord, and is either in a location where he's had a medical emergency, he's had an accident, or unfortunately he's chosen to cause potential self-harm to himself.
But again, if you have all of these agencies looking for him and all of this attention, even if you had a situation like that, how could he not be found? I mean, does it suggest more likely that he was taken?
I'm not quite sure if I buy into that theory, because he's armed. Number one, he has a gun on him. From what we're hearing, there's no.
Well, I mean, maybe we can't account for the gun, but maybe.
Correct. He's been trained. He knows what he's doing. I feel like he would fall higher in the possibilities of self-defense than your average person based on his history in the military. Okay. I believe if that was the case and he was taken, you're going to see some struggle. You're going to see some indication.
Then what happened to him, man? What you saying? He just went and got lost just to go get lost?
That he did not want to go with this person. What's very concerning in this case that he left his glasses, he left his phone, he left his watch. And when it all boils down, we see this a lot in our cases. We try not to focus on the noise. We try to focus on the individual, and that he, like a lot of other people, leave their devices and walk away from them. Why do they do that? Well, they don't want to be tracked. They don't want to be followed. They don't have any intent to communicate with anybody unless they return. So that's concerning. And we see that a lot of times in these cases where people want to go into the woods and, and do their own thing.
Two parts about this. The photo that was released. A, how significant is that? And B, why release a photo like this now as we're so far into this investigation?
I think they want to jog people's memory. I think they want people to sort of look at the picture and see if they remember seeing him in those clothes or in that state. There's several pictures of him being released out here. Some of them are older pictures. So you want the most recent picture to try and jog somebody's memory and see if they did see him. I think it's very significant that, that they are looking for Ring doorbell camera video, because what you're trying to do, you're trying to get a direction of travel. Which way was he heading? Where was he heading to? Where's the last point in which we knew he was at? That's very important to us. Like I tell everybody, and I think we've said this before, it's not about the who and the why and the possibilities. It's about the where. Right. Where that last spot that he was at is the most important thing.
What happened to the general, guys?
A little over a mile east of his home. Discovered on March 7th, no blood in the initial processing. Family can't confirm if it's his. A, how do you handle a piece of evidence like that? And how significant do you think it is here?
You collect it like it's a piece of evidence in a criminal investigation. You preserve it and try to get it in to be processed. The most important thing is hit his DNA on that shirt, if they've done that. And also, you need to, it's not the end all be all, because you don't know if it's his or not. So you have to document where it's at, and you have to consider that as part of your search. For us, the most important thing is confirmed last known location. Now, the shirt could potentially confirm that he was there at some point, but that hasn't happened yet. So you have to consider the possibility that he could be involved. So you need to search that area. But the most important place is the home, and how, and not for nothing, but he's a very athletic.
Nobody but his wife.
He hikes. He does a lot of things outdoors. So what is his potential to be able to get to a certain location? How far could he have went? Normally for us, it's about 2 miles. For this gentleman here, it could be 10 miles. What did he take with him? Did he take any supplies with him that he could have lasted longer, more days? Maybe he wants to get away. Maybe he wants to get farther into the mountains. There's a lot of possibilities, but each one of those helps us determine, how far our search parameters are going to be. Typically within 2 miles for your average person.
So authorities, I thought this was interesting. They've expanded to the neighborhood. They're canvassing more than 700 homes. They're asking for security footage from this specific window, right? February 27th to the 28th, between 9 a.m. 2 p.m. As far as we can see, they also said they don't have confirmed video of him leaving that area, no direction of travel, nothing, as far as they're telling us, unless maybe they're not revealing some information to the public. But this is 2026, you have cameras. How is it possible they can't capture him?
Path of travel, you'd have to look at where the home is. We have a lot of people who go out the back doors. They know where some of the cameras are. If they really want to circumvent the cameras, they can. And the other possibility is that, he got in a car with someone, or he somehow got out of the neighborhood, wasn't captured on the cameras.
Do you think about that too when you look at the short time frame between when the wife left and when she came back home?
Yeah, but also if I wanted to go do something and it wasn't the best choice in the world, maybe I want to do that when my wife leaves. Maybe that's the prime opportunity time for me to walk out the door and not be stopped by my wife or by somebody who loves me, because maybe I'm having a crisis at the moment. Maybe I do want to do something that's not the best
he really
choice.
accept this old man just walked off.
And I'm going to start with it because it's important to address it. I can't not address it when we're talking about this man with this career and the timing of it. So the idea, the theories is, this is a guy who knew things, deeply classified things. Whether you want to say it's outdated information or not, you could still make the argument value information, national security information, that he was taken. So when you think about that, we talked earlier about his Air Force bio, 34 years, the National Reconnaissance Office, command of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson. I talked about the $billions that was assigned to here that he was overseeing, right? He has all classification. He has this know-how. When you think about a potential foreign actor or a foreign party or a bad actor who might want that information, does that seem plausible to you? I mean, you mentioned before why you don't think it's likely he was taken, but if we're trying to navigate the possibility that he had information that was valuable, is that something that's being considered? And how is it being investigated and considered?
I would say absolutely it has to be considered. You have to run that to ground. You have to prove that that's the case here. And that's where you're seeing the FBI potentially coming in, law enforcement taking that into consideration. But the question you have to ask yourself is, why now? He's been retired for some time. Why did they take the opportunity at this moment in time to come get him? Why didn't this happen before? Maybe when he had more access to more information than he does now. So that's a major consideration. And as a detective and federal agent, you have to run that to ground to figure out whether or not this is a possibility. Is it a bad actor? Are there other things in play? And are you really going to release that information if that truly is the case? You're going to keep that close to your chest.
Let me ask you about what the wife said. So his wife addressed this directly in her post on Facebook.
So this is what his wife said,
I'm quoting here. He retired from the AF almost 13 years ago and has had only very commonly held clearances since. It seems quite unlikely that he was taken to extract very dated secrets from him. What do you make of that? I mean, first of all, that she's responding online, and B, that there is no value to what information he might have.
I think she's trying to shut down the noise. I think exactly what she's trying to do. She wants people, the community, she wants law enforcement to focus on the fact that he's a man who walked away from his home and is out there somewhere and he needs our help. And that's exactly what I would be doing too if I was his loved one and I had that information. Because if not, you're going to have law enforcement have the search teams in these rabbit holes thinking that, somebody's taking him somewhere when maybe he's actually right out there in those mountains, right out there that area where he knows he's been to before. Maybe he finds peace and tranquility there. So at this point, I think it would need to be all hands on deck.
I doubt if he's just out there, guys. I doubt it.
If you will.
So let me ask you about
UFO. Somebody took him. He ain't just out
there. Okay. And specifically the timing of this. Let me lay it out for everybody. On February 18th, President Trump posted on Truth Social. He says he's directing the Secretary of War and other agencies to begin identifying and releasing government files related to UFOs and UAPs and extraterrestrial life. February 26th, the day before McCasland vanishes, Hillary Clinton sits for deposition in the House Epstein investigation. And during that deposition, she is asked about UFO disclosure, about John Podesta's interest in it. And she responds, and let me play that clip again.
When your husband was president, it was Lawrence Rockefeller had an effort to try to
what Hillary said.
UFOs, UAPs. When you were running for president, John Podesta publicly stated that you would disclose these files if given the chance, if you had been president. Are you pleased to see that these files may be disclosed finally?
I am pleased. Now that's the deposition date, February 26th. Next day, February 27th, McCasland is reported missing. So just to be clear here, we are looking at the timeline. Investigators are not saying these events are connected. We're just simply examining them for their relevance as pertains to a potential timeline. Billy, is any of that relevant?
Absolutely. That falls into the why, potentially. This might have triggered a anxiety situation for him that he may have to go testify. He may be questioned about his activities after he's retired. So this could have been an anxiety situation that triggered some type of scenario where he felt like he needed to leave. He needed to get out of the spotlight, and potentially could have bad choices to cause harm to himself over this scenario. As you can imagine, he's lived his entire life doing this. He's had these clearances. He's done things that others only theorize about. So now I find it very concerning that this happened so close to the release of this information. Absolutely.
By the way, his wife addressed this Podesta connection indirectly in her. She said, after the Russians hacked John Podesta's emails, see Neil's Wikipedia page, there was less contact with the community pushing for release of UFO information. And she mentions the Russian hack of the emails. We're going to get to that in a minute, but she doesn't directly address the timing of the disappearance relative to the position of Trump's announcement, but she makes note of this in a certain way. What did you make of it?
There again, I think she's just trying to explain away some of the scenarios. And like I said, I think there's a lot of noise. Anybody can have access and get all your emails. Like, we've seen before. We've seen this happen. We've had this conversation about leaks in the government and leaks of information. And I think she's just trying to shut down the fact that he's not part of this. This wasn't his life, that he might have not been actively involved, like the pictures being painted. And there again, he may be just a normal man who used to do an extraordinary job, and now he is missing, and we need to focus on the fact that he
ain't
walked
just
out of his
leave,
home
though.
like any other person might have.
No, man, somehow.
It's a waste of resources sometimes. And sometimes you need to bring those resources back in and focus on the basic facts of what's going on.
It is so weird, though. The timing is so weird and circumspect. I get it. I totally get it. I would say when we think about this, that ties everything together, this UFO connection, I just want to amplify it a little bit. And I want to be careful here again, because there is a lot of material, and his wife actually addressed most of it directly in her post. I want to start with what we seem to know. This is according to the WikiLeaks emails from 2016. Tom DeLonge, the Blink-182 guitarist turned UFO researcher, reached out to John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman. And in one email that was dated January 2016, the subject line reads, General McCasland. And here's what DeLonge apparently wrote. He mentioned he's a skeptic. He's not. I've been working with him for 4 months. Just got done giving him a 4-hour presentation on the entire project a few weeks ago. Trust me, the advice has already been happening on how to do all this. He just has to say that out loud, and he is very, very aware, as he was in charge of all the stuff. When Roswell crashed, they shipped it to the laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. General McCasland was in charge of that exact laboratory up to a couple of years ago. He not only knows what I'm trying to achieve, he helped assemble my advisory team. He's a very important man. And McCasland's wife confirmed the connection. Part of that post reads, it is true that Neil had a brief association with the UFO community through Tom DeLonge, former frontman for Blink-182 and founder of the organization To the Stars. Neil worked with Tom for a bit shortly after his Air Force retirement as an unpaid, Neil's choice, consultant on military and technical scientific matters to lend verisimilitude to Tom's fiction book and media activities. Neil does not have any special knowledge about the ET bodies and debris from the Roswell crash stored at Wright-Pat. Though at this point, with absolutely no sign of him, maybe the best hypothesis is that aliens beamed him up to the mothership. However, no sightings of a mothership hovering above the Sandia Mountains have been reported. Now, obviously, she's being sarcastic there towards the end. She's pointing something out here. But Billy, I guess I have a couple of questions here. A, and I hate to say this, would she know? Would she know? Would a husband share this information with her? B, would she tell the truth to the public about this? Or C, if she really is, she didn't even have to be that specific, but she did. So maybe she does have this information, is trying to dispel it in some way in order, like you say, for people to focus on what they need to with respect to this investigation. So let's start there. I mean, you see what I'm trying to say?
Which, even though we have top secret clearances in the government, your spouses still understand sort of what's going on without being told. You know this. When you come home, your wife sort of knows what's going on. They can sort of read into you. I believe she sort of knows. Did she know the exact details of things? Maybe not, but always sort of know. So yes, I think they sort of know about what goes on in their person's life, their spouse's life. I don't know if the time that's passed between when he did his life now still connects him to the point where he's the most experienced at the subject we're dealing with here.
Right.
I think there's other people that they could fit to if they wanted to exploit information from that could have a better effect than this gentleman.
Shout out to Well Informed
two
for
thoughts
copping
about
that
One, maybe
membership.
he's in a
Shout
more
out to you, my
vulnerable
G.
position, and that was maybe why. But also,
finding out about this U.S.
I'm trying
general
to
guy
process this and see if it
with a lot
makes
of
sense.
top secret
How do
information just mysteriously coming up missing.
Actually thoroughly look into all this? Would the sheriff's office have, the ability to go snooping around Wright Air Force Base, Wright-Patterson? I don't think so. You have the feds involved, FBI. This almost feels like a movie in a way where you're trying to find something bigger. Aren't they going to be limited in learning more about what he was researching, what his career was like? It's not like he worked as an accountant.
So you'll have the FBI working with military, federal investigators, CIA, NCIS. And what's going to happen is that there's going to be certain things that the FBI is going to have to stop at where the military, federal law enforcement is going to pick up from. So they together will meet somewhere in the middle and share as much as they can. As you know, a clearance is a need-to-know basis. And there's some things that I'm sure he was involved in that no one has the clearance to understand. But there has to be an investigation. Local law enforcement is not going to be able to. They can give you the basics. Hey, the home looked like there was no signs of struggle. The basic investigation in a neighborhood where they're gathering cameras and trying to view witnesses. But when it gets to the top secret spaceship in a garage somewhere, they're not going to get to that point. That stuff's going to be handed off to the FBI, and the FBI is going to work it from there, moving into military law enforcement.
I just want to ask you this final point, since I interviewed him on my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live. This one comes from investigative journalist Ross Coulthard, who works with News Nation as well. He has kind of been sounding the alarm on this case in a big way. I mean, on his podcast, and again, he mentioned this on the show, but his podcast, Reality Check with Ross Coulthard, he called McCasland's disappearance, and I'm quoting here, a grave national security crisis. And he said, if you were Russia or you were China, God forbid, General Neil McCasland would be one of your targets. So I sincerely hope that's not the case. So Billy, real quick, what do you make of that one? It's very similar to what we're talking about, but Ross is very well respected in the field. Thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And there is a need for concern. The man knew a lot, he dealt with a lot, and he still knows a lot. So, that's the reason I think you're seeing the FBI and the military in this search for two reasons. Number one, it's because of who he is and the information he had available to him. Number one. Number two, you're seeing it out of respect for his position. I think that's the reason you're seeing the military out there help search for him. Out of respect that this man was a general, that he spent so many years in the military. Just like a police officer go missing, you would see the same thing. But there again, you're also seeing do the search, do the investigation. And sometimes one sort of covers up for the other. So you're not really understanding which one are you seeing. Are you seeing it out of respect, or is this a federal investigation that they're trying to keep covered up and using we're out here searching for him out of respect to cover up the fact of the investigation?
I want to get one more theory. I lied. One more thing. This one's a little different. It's not really a theory about why he disappeared, but about a possible. So we deep dive through Facebook. We came across a comment from March 2nd, and a woman responding to one of the wife's updates who says she might have seen him. Here's what she put. I'm reading this directly from her comment. I reported that I had seen someone fitting this description on Friday at about 11 a.m. at the whitewashed trailhead, Pima Canyon, and gave the physical location of the parking area. The man I saw was near the bridge over the arroyo, just at the beginning, the trail park area. He was off to the side, not on the trail, maybe 20 feet from me. I thought something seemed a bit off with the man, like not fully engaged, but I didn't speak to him. She posted this on March 2nd. She says she already reported it to BCSO. But again, here we are weeks later. The sheriff's office still has no confirmed sightings. What do we do with this?
It's important. It needs to be investigated. We get a lot of sightings when we have missing people. But I'll tell you, a lot of those sightings are not the people. We've had people swear to us that this person was 2 feet in front of them and they knew exactly that it was them, and it really was not them. And we encourage people to give information like this because it's a possible lead. But there again, it's a possible lead. It's not the end all be all. Go out there, investigate it, try to see if this really was him based on what he was wearing at the time and what he left wearing at the time. Did he change clothes? People really don't do that. So yes, get out there, make sure it's right, make sure it's him. If it's not him, keep moving on, keep those feet on the ground, start searching.
Billy, thank you so much for taking the time. Before I let you go, tell everybody a little bit more about your organization and the work that you do, because I think you've given a sample of how much an expert you are in this and how valuable it is the work you do. If you can give everybody a little bit more.
Absolutely. We run a nonprofit called We Are the Essentials for the Missing. You can visit wearetheessentials.com. You can learn about our mission. We go out and we work as private investigators, former law enforcement officers, military service members, free for families of missing people. Our job is to get boots on the ground. We search, we locate, we rescue, and we recover. No matter what, we do our best to live on purpose through Christ to help bring the missing home for families, to give answers so they can have peace.
Billy Lane, thank you so much, sir.
All right, so there was more into that missing general, guys. All right, so we got another situation going on. Have any of y'all heard of Shandra Levy, guys? Her case has been unsolved for like 75 years or something like that. But hers involved UFOs as well. It's 25 years later. Levy murder case unsolved, guys. Check this out.
This twist in the Shandra Levy murder mystery. It was 25 years ago today, that 24-year-old Levy disappeared after finishing a government internship out in Washington. And the search for the missing intern made national headlines partly because she was romantically linked to then California Congressman Harry Condit. And more than a year later, Levy's remains were finally found in D.C.'s Rock Creek Park. But to this day, we still don't know who. We still don't know why. But Shandra Levy's
say it was a person. Some people say UFOs, guys, like her parents.
Susan and Robert with us exclusively.
At that time, Shandra mentioned something that she knew about the UFOs. Congressman Condit was committee to learn about UFOs.
Well, he's on the Central Higher Intelligence Committee, and that she says, "Oh, he believes in UFOs like I do, and that he deals with stuff." So then it left me thinking, knowing Shandra, she's very inquisitive. Could she have known something that she wasn't supposed to know? And could she have been wiped out because she knew too much?
So was Shandra Levy's death connected to information that she found out about UFOs? Her parents say they're not sure. They say it's a possibility. Right now, there happens to be a lot of questions about missing or dead government scientists connected to sensitive U.S. research. So the timing of this is really interesting. Both the FBI and the House Oversight Committee.
Shandra Levy, guys.
A lot to talk about. Joining me now, the Frank B. Moore Junior Professor of Science at Harvard University, Avi Loeb. Avi, always good to see you. I was listening to this in real time last night. I wasn't sure what to process, how to make of it. What did you make of Shandra Levy's parents' claims? And what is the likelihood that there is a supposed connection between what happened to her and UFOs?
Well, thanks for having me. There is a lot of uncertainty in both.
They're not officially linked yet, Flip Mode, but a lot of people, and a lot of the evidence, it was like 11-day intervals to where they was coming up missing right behind each other. So it was a lot
her
going
case, the circumstances that led to her killing,
Shout out to Matt.
UFOs, we don't know much about them. And frankly, since we don't know much about UFOs in terms of what the information the government has, then we can't really judge whether that could be a reason for anyone.
Well, let me explore that a little bit. She was involved with Congressman Gary Condit. He was on the House Intel Committee. Can we at least establish that there could have been at least some knowledge she had about the UFO programs or UFO research or what the government was looking into?
Thank you, Maddie. Quite possible if he shared it with her. And also he might have shared some classified information related to his work. But between that and killing someone for that reason, there is a big separation, because a lot of people know these classified details and nothing happens to them. So, there is too much uncertainty here, and I am looking forward to any information we can get from President Trump's decision to release some of the government secrets of UFOs. Let's see what they.
I don't think that the UFO gotta, but hey, these days and times, anything possible.
Say, but then tell, and then we can judge whether the case has any merit to it.
And to temper this back, whatever's released may not have any connection whatsoever to Shandra Levy, and even the investigation into the scientists may have no connection. But listen, 2026 is very different than 2001, because this is something that her parents said last night, is that at the time their daughter disappeared, so May of 2001, that you had UFO expert Dr. Stephen Green, who was about to have this news conference with whistleblowers talking about UFOs. And he apparently did have that news conference at the National Press Club in D.C. You had a retired Air Force FAA intelligence officers. Tell us more about Dr. Stephen Greer, who was on, I think he was on Katie's show last night.
Shout out to Maddie for getting another membership. If you received it, make sure you thank her.
His interest in the subject started when he experienced the UFO at age 8 and from a close encounter, and then at age 18 again. And since then, he was actively engaged, both in creating a center for the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, as well as in a disclosure project 3 years later, 1993. So he's very, very much convinced that we are being visited, as well as that the government has some secrets. Until we see the evidence, we can't really judge again whether he is right or he's just hallucinating and imagining things that do not exist. So it all boils down to, what does the government know, what is out there? And the fact that Chandra had some interaction with his interests implies that, yes, she was familiar with the narrative of asking for disclosure, with the narrative the government has some information with UFOs. But that doesn't mean that, once again, that she should be killed for that reason.
No, 100%. A lot of people, and I guess just taking a step back, one of the reasons this is so historic, what's happening right now, this is a level of transparency we have never seen before. Back in that day, was there an increased effort to make sure no information would ever come out about the UFOs or UFO program or UFO research?
Well, there was definitely a stigma attached to discussing this subject, but moreover, the act of disinformation coming from government. And the question is why? Why was there an attempt to discredit this subject? Partly, obviously, there was a campaign to associate new technologies the U.S. government develops with aliens, just to discredit claims by the public that happens to notice those technologies flying in the sky.
Right.
And so that was definitely something that happened. And the question is how much credit we should give to the existence of very sensitive information about aliens or extraterrestrial. That we don't know. And hopefully President Trump's directive will shed some light on that. So let's just wait. These are all possible connections, but also they might might not hold water.
Look, we're going to get more answers. Hopefully we're going to get more answers. And I think at the very least, hopefully Shandra Levy's family gets some answers as to what happened to their daughter, so many years later. Avi Loeb, thank you so much for taking the time and trying to make sense of this. Okay, switching gears. I hadn't noticed today was May Day, right? Protesters taking aim at...
Let's take this down. All right, so we found out a little bit more when it comes to Shandra Levy, guys. They saying that it could have been possible UFO activity that took her. All right, check out what her parents had to say. about her being missing, guys. And then see if you still feel the same way, because the parents may feel like some UFOs involved. Check this out. These are her parents.
So much for taking the time. I'll just start here. I'm so sorry for the loss of your daughter. I'm so sorry for what the last 25 years have been. How are you both doing right now, particularly given tomorrow?
Day by day, one step at a time, one breath at a time.
I'm working, but it's always on my mind. But of course, over the years, it's not quite as well. You just can't in your mind all the time. You have to go on living.
It's tough to think about.
The edges are a little bit softened.
The fact that Chandra's killer has never been found after all this time, how do you process that? And number two, do you speak to law enforcement regularly about if they're looking into any leads? Are they still investigating this?
No.
No, I mean, they sort of blew the case, and then some person screwed up the witness, on purpose. And so that's why they let him go.
And of course, the trial was screwed up as well.
Yes.
So we don't know the real truth. So many things has happened that we have other ideas.
Can we explore that a little bit? So just to be clear, you don't necessarily believe that Gandhi K was involved, that it was that he might have been the wrong person. You believe there's something else that might have happened to Shandra?
Yes, quite possibly. Although, he's still a suspect. I hope he's not still sucking air, but we don't know. But around the same time Chandra was in Washington, Dr. Stephen Greer had a UFO conference in the first couple of weeks of May. He presented a lot of witnesses, a lot of whistleblowers on the UFO subject. And at that time, Chandra mentioned something that she knew about the UFOs, that Congressman Condit was on the committee to learn about UFOs.
Well, he's on the Central Higher Intelligence Committee, yes. And that she says, he believes in UFOs like I do, and that he deals with this stuff. So then it left me thinking, knowing Chandra, she's very inquisitive. Could she have known something she wasn't supposed to know? And yes. Could she have been wiped out because she knew too much? If you go back into history, Kennedy was killed. Marilyn Monroe, of course, they thought she had a suicide, but maybe she was murdered.
Yes, and Admiral Forrestal years before, and William Colby, the head of the FBI, the head of the CIA, they were all murdered. And of course, Stephen Greer has a list of other people involved in the intelligence on UFOs who were murdered back then. I know there's another list now, but this was in the early 2000s and long before that. So we can't say it was a part of the CIA that did it, but it's always suspicion because it sort of ruined Stephen Greer's conference when all the news came out about Chandra.
Well, by the way, I should let you know, I think he was just on my colleague's show right before this, Katie's show right before this, Dr. Stephen Greer. So you talking about it, this is very, very relevant, right? I mean, I'm sure there's a big case going on. There's a big investigation about these missing and dead scientists. Yes. Just to be clear,
we're very sure.
Do you think there's a connection between Chandra and what we're seeing now?
You never know.
There certainly could be. We're not saying that's what it is, but it all sort of fits together.
Let me ask you this. Are you hoping that as this is getting a lot of attention and they're investigating this, that this will provide renewed interest or somehow have a connection into Chandra's case? Are you trying to communicate with the people investigating this?
No, you are the first person that we've really gone to publicly about this. I've been told that not to touch the subject.
Not to touch it, but Danny, who Stephen Greer's former lawyer, told us not to get too involved with it because certain element of the CIA is getting rid of people who might be too involved with it.
There are a lot of people right now that are afraid And they are people who have spent a lot of time in government work.
A lot of people are threatened, such as Tim Burchett, the congressman who's really interested in that. Tim Burchett has been told a lot of things, and he's sort of fearful of something happening to him.
So there's a lot involved.
Just to be clear, aside from timing that you just mentioned in terms of what happened with Chandra and what was happening with the UFO community, is there anything else you can share with us about why you believe there might be this connection?
I don't know. It's something that I thought of 2-3 years ago. I was at Contact in the Desert, and I felt a strong, intuitive thing coming from me that there's a possibility there may be a connection. We don't know what really goes on in the government. So many of us don't know the truth about many things. And as you know, the fuel situation and people who are controlling the politics
Shout out
of the
to
world,
Tootsie for
you're
being
not
a
always
member for the
given
last
truth.
13 months.
Yeah, and I know President Trump wants to reveal it, but he's got to be careful because, you know, what happened to Kennedy and what happened to all these other people.
And I'm stepping out on a limb, asking disclosure. Someone knows the truth of what happened to my daughter, our daughter, Shandra, and what has happened to a lot of other people that have disappeared, gone missing, that have demise in mysterious ways.
I want to take it back for a second. And it was something in the earlier clip we were showing at the press conference. We're showing these photos. I think a lot of times it gets lost. Who was Shandra, right? Like after all these years, I know you still think about her, and it's of course you're going to be thinking about her. Who was she? What was she like as a person? What do you want people to remember about her all these years later? She's not just a statistic. She's not just victim A. Who was she?
That's right. She had high moral standings and really did believe in the government and believed in Constitution and believed in politics the way it's supposed to be. Our country has gone to a lower moral ground. And I think she would have a lot to say if she was here now. And so I'm her voice. And I think she would be very unhappy of what's happening, the division in our country, and the value of lives are in jeopardy, as well as people having a struggle to make a living and find their jobs and bring home, if you want to say, food and income for their home and to feel a safe community.
And it's important.
She's interested in that.
And she is. Sometimes we get little signs and messages from her, we believe anyway. But certainly the whole universe it's all consciousness, it's all spiritual. So there's God in charge of everything. You know, if you want to say it's Yeshua HaMashiach, that's perfectly right. But God is in charge of everything of the universe. So we have to keep that in mind.
Well, listen.
And we have to stand up for what we believe is high morality and grounds of peace in this nation and around the world.
Well, listen, first of all,
that's my voice.
No, I hear you. And Susan, Robert, I know it's not easy coming on and talking about this ever. I know it's not easy, particularly talking about what happened here 25 years later, but I appreciate you coming on. I'm thinking of you during all this. I'm wishing you both the best and best wishes as you navigate this. And I always hope that you get some sort of answers moving forward. And I'm glad you were able to give a little bit more about who Shandra was. So thank you so much.
And thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
There's disclosure for lots of things, the truth, and for everybody in this world.
Okay. Well, I think we all are looking for a little bit more answers on a lot of different subjects. So I hear you. Susan, Robert, Levy, thank you so much.
You're
all right. Thank you.
All right, so that went the thing on Shandra Levy, guys. They most definitely saying, hey, she could have been abducted by aliens. I don't know if you believe it, but that's most definitely what they are saying. All right, so we got more when it comes to this general and him basically being missed.
Saying that and they're in fact concerned for his safety here. What are you tracking in this case, especially since this is a military official? Presumably he has a lot of intel in this space.
Well, Natasha, this is the problem. From all accounts, he has his faculties. He is very in shape. This is an individual who wouldn't just get lost or somehow have a mental issue that took place. So I think it's very concerning. Again, he's been missing since February 27th, Natasha. And he could be concerned and he need to keep his face and name out there. Somebody has seen something.
Jennifer Koffendorfer, always appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
There was not any special knowledge about the ET bodies and debris from the Roswell crash stored at Wright Pat, though at this point, with absolutely no sign of them, maybe the best hypothesis is that aliens beamed them up to the mothership. However, no sightings of a mothership hovering above the Sandia Mountains have been reported. Now, authorities say they have received dozens of so far, no confirmed sightings as the search continues. So I want to tackle this in a different way. I want to bring in astrophysicist Avi Loeb. He's the Frank B. Bard Junior Professor of Science at Harvard University, and also former FBI agent and UFO investigator Ben Hansen. He's the host of Discovery Plus's UFO Witness. Thank you both so much for taking the time. Avi, I'm going to start with you. You know, McCasland once led this Air Force research laboratory. It handles all of this weapons technology. I talked about the UFO connection. What kind of projects would a person in that role have likely been exposed to? Are we talking UFO secrets? I guess the question I'm asking, in other words, is what information could he potentially have that would be so valuable for someone to potentially take him?
I don't think it's very likely that someone took him for that reason. In that capacity, he probably was responsible for developing the latest technological advances used for weaponry within the Air Force. However, you know, it's hard to believe that material retrieved from many decades ago would be a reason for taking him out now that President Trump actually directed the declassification of information that is not important for national security. In the worst case scenario, I can imagine someone threatening him, but not really doing much about it. And also, you know, any technology used for decades ago is not relevant right now. So I would actually dismiss. I completely agree with his wife. I don't think it has anything to do with UFOs. The only thing I can imagine is, you know, that for some other reason, you know, that maybe completely mundane, someone did something to him, which unfortunately, you know, led to these consequences, but had nothing to do with UFOs as far as I can imagine.
Well, Ben, here's the thing. You know, if he disappeared on his own, it would be so unusual that his body wasn't found. He wasn't found. Yes, I know he has outdoor experience, but let's say he was. I mean, what do you believe? Do you think that there's a possibility that this was abduction, maybe not by a foreign actor, but some sort of personal issue? Or do you believe that what we're seeing right now, leaving his phone there, he goes missing right after the administration announces that they're going to release information regarding extraterrestrials and UAPs and UFOs? Do you think something on here?
Well, I think it is kind of a leap in speculation to go, you know, down the route of it maybe being connected to UFOs, but more likely, I think we have to have an open mind that something that was related to his work. The question comes up as to why you have so many agencies that are looking for him. And my response to that is, you know, when I was in the agency, we had to take a special form anytime we wanted to travel for the weekend and tell what route we're taking, where we're staying. Because when you have a top secret clearance like that actively working on things, you're playing offense and defense. Now, he's been retired for a while, but those things that he came across in the programs he was running could be valuable still, I believe, to people. Either him, heaven forbid, you know, meeting up and sharing things he shouldn't, but then also him being a target. But I agree. I don't know that we have anything connecting it to UFOs at this moment, but it is very interesting.
Well, Avi, you seem to suggest, and correct me if I'm wrong, that whatever information you have might be outdated, similar to what his wife is saying. But I don't know. He might not know things that could still be. I had Rob Coulthard on the other day. A grave national security risk.
National security is a different matter. Yes, I do think that there are secrets that obviously will not be released because we have technologies that other nations want, and see the superiority of our forces right now with Iran. I mean, there must be a lot of technological advances that most people are not aware of. But From that to the subject of UFOs, that's a stretch. And in that context, I do believe that now the political sentiment is shifting thanks to President Trump, and therefore we should focus on what will be released, how much of it, and what value it carries, but not, I don't think there is any conspiracy behind the scenes going against President Trump in a way that is so aggressive as to abduct a person.
Joining us now, former FBI special agent and former Navy SEAL Jonathan Gilliam. Here we are, another very bizarre missing case, this one with this UFO tie. Welcome to you and thank you. I want to share a comment from News Nation's investigative journalist Ross Coulthart, who has been watching this case closely. He believes it's odd that McCasland went out without his phone. Here's part of that.
It's a real question mark. It's almost as if, was he going out to meet somebody and he didn't want to be tracked or listened to? What is also puzzling a lot of his friends is the low-key nature of the FBI investigations. This is a very senior former Pentagon general, a man with some of the most sensitive national secrets in his head. It really hasn't featured much at all in any media releases by local sheriffs or by the FBI. They're taking an extremely low-key approach.
Jonathan, now that the FBI is involved here, what stands out to you investigatively about trying to find this guy?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that to look at closely, which I'm sure the FBI is. One of the interviews they just played there a second ago, where somebody's saying that
this general just didn't get up and leave, guys. He didn't just get up and leave. Just,
I mean, look,
something had to be going on.
Every community, you look at every person, every possibility, and that's what FBI agents are going to do. They're going to come in. The law enforcement low-key investigation, as you saw, you were on the ground down in Tucson. It's hard to gauge what is actually happening by the activity of the sheriffs or local police at times. So what stands out to me, though, is that he left his home and went to a hiking trail, if the information that I have is correct. It's often people go to a hiking trail and they don't take their phone, and potentially they want to unplug, or maybe he had an iWatch where he can make calls from his watch. So that would lead me to believe potentially he had a medical issue when he was on a trail. But from a point of security, the potential for who could have had an interest in abducting the general, the fact that he had access and information to some very classified information and technology-driven information for the United States government, that would be very, very important for the FBI to solve, because if he was kidnapped, they may not want anything to do with a ransom. These, if it was a nation state or another country, or even espionage, industrial espionage, that took this general and tried to get information out from him, that is a real possibility. Marnie, these are possibilities. We just don't see them very often. So I think that is something that the FBI is going to be looking into. And his normal movements and his normal activity is going to play a big part in this, I believe.
Yeah. And we also know that homeowners in the area, hundreds of people live in the area, have been contacted about their security footage. What other investigative tools will law enforcement be looking into to try to uncover any evidence, even in his own digital interactions?
Sure. Well, his activity, like if that's a regular time that he goes for a hike, of course, they're going to find that out. Where his phone was previous to that, was he meeting with certain people? What phones were in that location? Phones play a huge part in all these. I'm so surprised when bad guys do things with phones on their side, but they do. And who was around him at that particular time, and who has been around him? Generally speaking, where he's been at. They have the ability to look at all these different things with phones. Of course, the cameras, now that we know that Google has Nest camera, whether you subscribe to it or not, that may be something that the FBI is looking into now as well. So there's going to be a lot of technology that 30 years ago wasn't used, but really becoming mainstay right now. And I would think also if they have the ability to get dogs out there, that's going to be a huge thing, because they can track from his house. Even now, that was February 27th. That's nothing for these dogs. They can still latch onto a scent from his home and see where that ended. And that is something that they should have done already if they haven't, but I would suspect that that's what they'll do.
Yeah, I know they're getting assistance from his base where he worked there as well. Jonathan Gilliam, thank you as always.
The FBI and local New Mexico officials have been looking for a retired Air Force Major General who's been missing for more than 2 weeks. General William Neal McCasland was last seen on February 27th in Albuquerque. Police later issued a silver alert, which is done in the cases of missing seniors. During a press conference today, authorities released new information which hope will crack the case, including what McCasland was wearing when he vanished. McCasland has long been associated with the UFO community, and his disappearance came just days after President Trump announced that he would release government records tied to UFOs and extraterrestrials. McCasland's wife has insisted that the general's disappearance had nothing to do with UFOs or that announcement. Of course, that doesn't stop any in the UFO community from thinking it's all part of some sort of conspiracy. Joining us now from New Mexico is News Nation national correspondent Alex. Alex, what are we learning about this search?
Yeah, Elizabeth, some new developments that came from the sheriff's office today. First and foremost, they, for the very first time, that General McCasland had been experiencing what they're calling a brain fog for the last several months, something that we had never actually heard before. But that being said, they said that he showed no signs of other behavioral issues, be it depression or suicidal thoughts. We also learned that the hiking boots and the shirt that the police thought that he was wearing at the time of his disappearance was actually inside of his house all along. In fact, they said that there were no shoes missing inside of his home, which makes you wonder who actually leaves their home voluntarily without a pair of shoes. Just one of many suspicious facts that the police are following at this time. There's now this massive effort from local, state, and federal authorities to search the mountains that are right here beside his neighborhood. They're using everything, God, it's helicopters, drones, and canines.
Where did he go, guys? Where did he go?
But at this time, the sheriff said that there's been no heat signature detected in those foothills. But even if he was hiking, it really doesn't explain why so many things are out of the normal with this case, especially coming from a guy, a military man, who was so highly regimented. Things like why he didn't tell anyone where he was going, why he left his phone behind, but why he took his .38 revolver. The internet now buzzing with conspiracy theories, especially from those armchair experts who wonder if he was actually taken against his own will. He's an important man who climbed the ranks of the U.S. military, learning top secrets and sitting in on classified briefings. While police say there's no evidence of foul play at this time, they're thankful for the avid UFO community for digging deep into theories that they can't do on their own.
I appreciate that there's a community that wants to go down the rabbit hole of UFOs. I don't have a way with which to pursue that. And so those theories have to be set aside unless we were to find something that indicated that. So we can only go off of fact at this point.
And Elizabeth, they're just hoping more tips come in.
Alex says he was very high ranking, access to a lot of classified materials, you said, and it's so odd that he took his revolver with him, not his cell phone.
Right.
All right, Alex, keep on it. Let us know. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation.
Crazy, right? What happened to the general, guys? He just left his cell phone, just took off. Now, I've seen some of y'all down there talking about basically these files finna be released and him going missing, right? Could it be that they may not give us everything when it comes to the UFO files? And the only people that would know they was giving us everything would be like the general, right? He would be able to say, hey, man, that's not everything. So could it be that they may have took him out so they can just release what they want to release without anybody to say anything different than what's being put out? What y'all think about that? Would that be a possibility? Yeah, that's basically what they saying. Like, who else would take him out? And if it's us, why would we want to take him out? They said he has a lot of ties, you know, to things things that are going on, you know. So let me know what y'all think down. Know something on these files, the UFO files that Trump is supposed to be releasing, that he announced he was releasing around the time that this general went missing, guys.
On his recent briefing that he got, which came out of with a sort of different perspective, and said, look, if the country were able to see and hear what he saw, what he heard, it would be a paradigm shift. You'll see in the interview here that we let him talk. I asked a question. He really just took it and would run with it. But it was a lot of good insight, a little bit of frustration about why there's not progress more so than there already has been. But a lot of interesting insight from a guy who has now been in the rooms and on the front lines of disclosure. Here is that interview. Congressman, we have heard a lot about this briefing that you got. You've been talking a lot about it, not in detail of what you heard.
Sure.
But can you lay out, leaving that briefing, it seems like you were a bit of a changed man after that. Talk to me about what the feeling was after.
I've had multiple briefings, and I guess, you know, I get a lot of doubters, and people make fun of me, members of Congress, which is kind of ironic because there's always the guy in the crowd that makes a joke about it after somebody else, and they come up to me and they say, man, I need to tell you something, you know, I'm in the military, or I saw something, or got a lot of people interested in this issue. But and I've had so many of these briefings now. I even had one since the one that you're describing. I had that was a member of our leadership arranged, which tells you the serious nature of this thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just think people need to know what we've seen and what these pilots are seeing. And Luna, for instance, we requested all those videos, and he, you know, got kind of a deadline when she'd like to have them by. And she calls over there and they say, well, we don't know anything about that or stuff, the same old stuff you and I've run into for years on this issue. And America's just ready. I think they would they'd be alarmed about what it is. And I think mostly they'd be alarmed at why the government won't allow it out.
Yeah.
And what's at the base of it. And you know, all the theories aside, whether you think it's extraterrestrial, if you think if it's something from this earth, you know, if it's the Russians or the Chinese or the Americans, which I don't think it is. And then maybe allow some of the pilots to talk and tell exactly what they've seen. And the last briefing, I had some pretty incredible photos, and I think that you should have the right to see those.
Yeah.
And the critics are going to blast it. You know, they're going to say it's AI, it's whatever. But you got to go back and ask yourself, why would some of the best pilots in the world, why would they risk their credibility to come out with it? Because anytime they make a sighting, a lot of times they'd have to get a psych evaluation and get all this stuff, and even if it's something that's on radar. But now we've got officers in the Navy seeing these very, very large objects on sonar traveling at a very high rate of speed, something that's exponentially faster than anything we can accomplish. You got to realize that you have an object out there in the ocean that hovers, above the air, that hovers for, could be hours on end. We have nothing with that capability. You have to you'd run out of fuel. And then when they take off, they just, you know, maybe straight up, and the power to do that is something, the energy it'd take to fuel
UFOs out over the ocean,
is that incredible. And I just don't see any reason why our government should be hiding it. And I don't like going into a meeting and an unelected bureaucrat tells us that that the president is on a need-to-know basis. to me, that should be very telling to America that there's a lot going on just behind the scenes, and we're aware.
And you've heard that directly.
Sure, absolutely,
President.
absolutely. And and I know Matt Gaetz spoke a couple weeks ago about a briefing he had on a
UFOs, guys,
a reading thing between alien life, but he didn't say he'd seen it. He didn't say it was fact. He just said that it was discussed with him by a member of the military. And have I heard those things? Oh, sure, I've heard those before, but I haven't seen anything. And I have my own beliefs about it, but about all the what's going on.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm right or wrong. I just think it's time for America to get this stuff, get this information.
What can you share about that briefing that really made you come out and say people would be shocked to see this? Can you tell us about
what it is you saw?
Yeah, well, it was. I can tell you that just because everything I asked about, because there was someone in there in the meeting I felt like that was there to disrupt, to maybe say that this person was not telling the truth. And again, this person had no reason to lie to us. It was in the skiff, of course, so I'm very limited on anything I can really say about it. But they said I gave certain incidences that had occurred and that hurt her, and they could name dates, people, places, and to me it was very convincing. And I knew some of it, and they filled in the gaps. And these things that there was no hesitation whatsoever. There was no, it wasn't anything like that. It was just straightforward. And then when this person asked these questions, I felt like they were to disrupt and contradict what they were saying. And went just a complete 180. Yeah. And that's what you're going to have, because you're going to have members of Congress who want to, for whatever reason, they don't want the truth, or they know it, and there's a certain arrogance up here too. You got to admit that. I mean, there's a complete arrogance. And again, I don't know if it's about little green men or flying saucers. I just know we're spending tens of millions of dollars on something. I think we should know what the heck we're spending that money on. And you can, when they bring it all out, just let people make up their own minds. Because there's going to be a group that's going to say, and look, I'm a born-again Christian. I'm from the forgiven end of that spectrum. But I'm not worried about the demonic element. I hear people say that. But there's no reason for demons to be doing this. It's such a small little area. I mean, they could come up here to Congress as easy as maybe they already have. I don't know. But and do I think it's the Chinese or the Russians? And I go back over this. If it was the Russians, they wouldn't be bogged down in Ukraine. If it's the Chinese, they'd own us. Some would argue, as I've stated, they own us already, but more so. And would it be the Americans? Why in the world would we risk a $500 million high-tech aircraft or a fleet of aircraft?
How many of y'all out there believe in aliens, guys? Let me know.
To be around these things and a pilot losing their life when we just saw, rightfully so, the president we spent millions of dollars to rescue a pilot. Yeah. We did not. And there's no telling what that cost, but that's a signal to the rest of the world and to our people that we value life. So there's no reason for us to be doing that. And I won't go too far into it, but I've talked to folks that are at the highest levels, and they will tell you that they've asked the one higher up level in the whole security paradigm, I guess, and they've indicated that it is definitely not them.
So that sort of transitions me well to my next question, which is that we've heard rumors about President Trump potentially preparing for some level of disclosure about.
And I believe that. I had that very conversation with him.
So where is he on that? Is he?
So he spoke to Trump about the UFO.
Before you get to it, is let's say he makes some kind of statement during the war with Iran. Do you think that sort of undermines? People might say, well, he's trying to distract.
They're always going to say he's distracting. This is just a distraction. And the best day to release this stuff was yesterday. And the second best day to release it is right now.
So is he going to do that?
Hope so. I think he's not beholden to that community.
Yeah.
And
but you've talked to him about it. What's your feeling on whether he's really?
Well, I don't generally publicly discuss too much what I discussed with the president about, because that could end up, I would not talk, he wouldn't talk to me as freely as he does when we talk. But we talked 14 minutes. I was looking at my watch and I was like, holy cow, it's 14 minutes. It was about a lot of things, but yeah, I told him, I said, it's like layers of the onion, Mr. President. I said, you just keep peeling it back. Yeah, you put the 1 and 2 people in there, but these lifetime career people are in there, and for whatever reason, they're not releasing anything. So I feel like the material or whatever it's out there that we don't really have it anymore, because they farmed it out to these corporations, and these corporations are not foilable. Freedom of Information Act is for the people back home. It's when I can say, hey, FBI, release this stuff. I want to see this stuff. And under FOIA, allegedly, they're supposed to release it. But say a Ford Motor Company had it, they wouldn't have to release it. And I feel like that's what's happened to a lot of it. And a lot of the stuff we've seen is that I think that we have is
he says the stuff that he's when it comes to UFOs will blow a lot of our minds, guys. And he can't see why the government haven't released all this information yet.
Probably, yeah. The people that are dissecting it or whatever they're doing with it probably don't realize exactly what it is or where it came from. They might have an idea, but people with the direct knowledge are mostly gone. So it's kind of like during at Oak Ridge during the Second World War. I've met people. I met this one guy I met one time. I was out knocking on doors, and he was of my parents' age. And I asked him what branch he was in, because he was putting his American flag out. And he said, "Oh, Nick wasn't in the war." I said, "Oh, okay." And he was kind of sheepish about it. And he said, "Well, I worked at Oak Ridge." And I was like, you know, my dad were here, he'd hug you, because Daddy was on Okinawa when they dropped the bomb. They thought they were going to invade Japan. They were getting ready. He's 1st Marine Division. They were going to be in the fight. I said, my daddy was here, he'd hug your neck. My mama would probably give you a kiss on the cheek. But he said that, he just kind of said this thing, and it always stuck in my mind. He said, funny thing, he said, my wife worked there too. And I never knew what she did, and she never knew what I did till after the war. I mean, because people honored that back then. It's not everything's a book deal or a clickbait or something. Yeah. And it's compartmentalized. And
that makes it harder.
It makes it very hard. And then when those people die, direct knowledge goes. I mean, Roswell, everybody talks about Roswell, and there's a couple other incidents that occurred. But it doesn't help when you go into a meeting, one of these secure meetings with a bureaucrat who's kind of a smart aleck, political appointee, and you have the career people that are usually their military officers, and you ask about a specific incident. And the direct quote to me was, we do not have data points on that, Congressman. And it was something that was a pretty documented case that had occurred. And there's a couple of them actually we talked about. And they talked, and and they bring this smart aleck thinking he's uncovered everything, that we're just a bunch of idiots. And he showed a bunch of, like one was a birthday balloon, the metallic ones that have some kind of metal in them or whatever. And then, of course, they look like what you can see is a flying saucer. And somebody takes a picture of outside the window, 747 as they're flying by, and it looks like it's going. It's really stationary. And he said, well, and they slow it down and do all this stuff. And then you actually see a cartoon character on this balloon. This is, and nobody's even talking about that. I mean, that stuff's just, even the folks, the so-called UFO community, they just dismiss those kind of things because they
actively trying to disprove some of the
yeah. And I felt, and his arrogant, smart aleck nature was not very beneficial. It was a complete waste of time. And I have noticed when I walk into some of these meetings, the attitude changes. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. I want to just sort of process what you think it would be like if the president decided to release images or videos that have been classified, or goes and says, there are these technologies and we believe they very well may be NHI, non-human intelligence.
Every time we ask for something specific, the military or the war pimps at the Pentagon, the intelligentsia,
call them the war pimps,
behind national security. If you remember, I had the bill a few years back.
Yeah.
It was 2 pages long to release it, release everything. The Democrat Schumer, actually, in the Senate, Schumer's on board with us, and he wanted to release his was 60 pages, and it created some structure similar to the Kennedy files. Kennedy was shot over 60 years ago, and they still release everything on that. And, and that's what they wanted to create, and everybody was cheering, oh, Schumer's on our side. No, he's not. If he was on our side, he would have pushed to done this years ago. The push is coming from people that haven't been here very long, and some of our leadership now, after they've seen some things, they want to know.
But I want to get back to, like, you mentioned you think people are ready to hear this and make their own judgments and see what you've seen.
Are people ready for
UFOs? I'm thinking back to the most historic moments in my life, like 9/11 comes to mind. I feel like this would be a moment like that. The president comes out and says, look what
comes on the news.
Yeah.
So this is what it is. We know what it is.
Yeah. So,
but the military industrial war complex, whatever you want to call it, high national security every dadgum time. They're going to claim that, and that's part of the problem. That's why we've got a president, I think, that gets it and that's sick of it and thinks America maybe is not arrogant enough to believe that he's the end all.
Yeah. Robert heard something from some sources about Aero reaching out to other agencies. We don't know exactly what this is about.
Yep. And I have a lot of fear because of that. I don't like Aero.
What do you know about, what can you say about their reaching out? It seems like there's some kind of coordination about.
They want to be the ones to coordinate it. And in my opinion, they've been the problem in the past because their guy has attacked me, their former.
Yeah.
And just said some things that were, if he actually said it, I didn't hear it. But if he said it, they're just not true. And that's part of the problem, too, within this so-called UFO community. There's a lot of fighting and everybody wants to, and I get it. Somebody's selling T-shirts and baseball caps and they got a book tour and they want to do a movie and all this stuff. And I think there's plenty for everybody. I'm not worried about all that. I'm not caught up in all that. I just want to get the truth out. I think transparency, that's something I've been a big part of for a long time.
Okay. I just continue to wonder about if it's not the president coming out, do you see any authoritative figure that could come out with a level of credibility that will make Americans say,
unless somebody walks out of one of those labs with something.
So they never say what they say, what they seen, they all scammers.
Commit suicide by shooting themselves in the back of the head 12 times. I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay. And last one for you. What do we know, if anything, about these 10 scientists?
It's actually more than that, actually, if you go back a little farther. But
a little bit on the side.
We know they were in our aeronautical defense industry, or complex, just all around the spectrum on that. And it's
with clearance, many of them high level
clearance. And you figure 10 of them, that we'll just say the 10. If there were 10 chefs across this country disappeared or died mysteriously, people start questioning what the heck. There are 10 used car salesmen, dealerships, 10 preachers, 10 whatever, 10 masseuses. I don't care. I think America would probably take notice. And I think they finally are taking notice because this all fits in. And I know family members are going to say, well, they got nothing to do with the UFO, but generally they don't talk. They keep it. Most of the guys and gals are so locked down, they keep their mouth shut because they didn't. Their nuclear secrets that they have would have already leaked out as well.
And maybe, futile effort, but is Congress looking at that at all? I haven't seen any.
Some of them are, but
investigative.
It's always just us on the fringe that are doing it. And there's a few of us that are involved. And I'd say there's about, I don't know, maybe 10 of us that are watching this thing pretty close and haven't peeled off yet. Because some of those people were, oddly enough, were people that I'd encouraged to come to meetings because I wanted people that were objective and maybe didn't believe.
Yeah. Some of the scientists, you mean?
No.
Oh.
Some of the members of Congress.
Oh, gotcha.
And now some of them are some of the, I mean, they're the biggest fans of this thing that I've seen, actually, because they came from nothing and then they see these things and, they can be skeptical of some of it. Some of it is questionable. But, we've had so many obstacles on this thing. When Luna and Matt Gaetz and I went down to Florida to Eglin, they turned us away. We were told we were going to see, there were some pilots that wanted to talk to us. And they showed it, they briefed us on some stuff that was pretty incredible that had nothing to do with this subject. And then, and Matt told them, said, we're going to subpoena you all. And I mentioned to him, I said, here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell us the answer is 1.75 and the real answer is 1.74, and you're going to be held in contempt. I said, you're going to mess something up and you're going to get in some serious trouble here. I said, I would, because Matt's pretty tough orator and he's a very tough attorney. And he got on the phone and whoever Big Air Force is, because they came back in about an hour and they took us upstairs and gave us a nice fruit tray at taxpayers' expense. And then they brought the pilots in. And that's the kind of things I wish America could listen to and talk to, because it was very interesting. And I mean, that just sort of, that kind of lit the fuse for a lot of members when that deal went down.
All right, I will leave it here. Is there anything else that you want to share that we didn't talk about now?
Yeah, I just say I'm as frustrated as America is. I see people say, I wish Burchett would shut up about this, but you all ask me about it. I don't set up the interviews. I'm glad to talk about it. I just, I'm very frustrated with it too. I don't know that we'll ever get to the bottom of it unless Trump does it, or unless one of these scientists walks out of one of these private labs and says, what's going on? So I would hope. And people, and let me clarify something too. People say, you need to go to Area 51, to Wright-Patterson, you need to go here or there. As soon as we announce we're going to go there, I don't think we're going to find, I think we'll probably find an empty warehouse. Yeah. It's going to take the President of the United States to step up and say, this has gone on long enough. We got to get to the bottom of this.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the time. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming.
My next guest knows more than anyone about the history of Los Alamos. Jeremy Corbell is shedding light on some of those mysteries in a brand new documentary about investigative career, Sleeping Dog. In this clip, he uncovers documents from a late Los Alamos official who reportedly referenced atmospheric anomalies and classified UFO studies in these files. Watch.
Where is this from?
It's from Los Alamos National Laboratory.
Your dad died, right?
He did. He passed about a month ago.
I'm sorry to hear that. My dad died too. What was your dad's position and why do we find this interesting?
He was in charge of all computer and cybersecurity for the entire laboratory.
Sleeping Dog will be released on May 12th, but joining us tonight is investigative journalist and documentary filmmaker Jeremy Corbell. He's also co-host of the Weaponized podcast. Jeremy, congrats. Great to talk to you again. We're going to get to the documentary in just a second, but you've been pushing for years for more UFO transparency. And tonight, like literally right before we came on the air, President Trump says he's directed the Pentagon Secretary Pete Hegseth to release the UFO files. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that President Trump he probably got exposed to these videos kind of in real time. So the fact that he is asking for Pete Hegseth to put those videos out to the public needs to see these videos. I have been exposed to a number of them. In fact, as you know, Elizabeth, I released video number 2 with George Knapp. We obtained and released that video of a UAP filmed by our military. It was in Syria, 2021. It was filmed by a Reaper drone. It's not what you're showing on screen right now, but it demonstrated instantaneous acceleration, and that was their determination, their examination of this UAP. So I really hope that President Trump, I know he means it, so we need the Pentagon to do what he said, release those 46 videos to the public, not just to Congress, so they can tell us about this extraordinary technology.
Yeah, Congress has been frustrated about being denied access to the files, much less the public. So it would be great if both Congress and the public could take a look at this. He has promised now. The White House also said today that the FBI is looking into a string of missing or dead national security insiders. You know, I keep thinking this has got to just be coincidence, but it really is remarkable how many of these people disappeared or were found dead later in very, very similar circumstances.
Yeah, so it is concerning. We do need to be careful. There are cases there that are really important, like the general who went missing. You know, he didn't just walk off. I'm hoping it's not a foreign nation. I'm definitely hoping it's not anybody within our nation. But there are certain cases within that I think are worthy of our investigation. The one with Amy, I knew Amy very well, and her parents, Kathy and Richard, they made a statement that scientists died. And not to make too much of this, that's a tragic event, but people should look into Matthew Sullivan. He's scheduled to testify in front of Congress, and Rep. Burleson came out and talked about this. It was deemed credible and urgent because of this suspicious suicide. And I think people need to look into that. The FBI is involved, has been involved for quite some time.
Okay. We just played a clip of your new documentary called Sleeping Dog. In the clip, you're talking to the son of a former official who was in charge of cybersecurity at Los Alamos. He had a treasure trove of UFO files. What was in them?
Yeah, look, this is not unusual for me. I've kind of become the clearinghouse for people that have sensitive information regarding UAP. And sometimes when people pass away, you know, their family members do reach out to me. So in this movie, which I did not make, by the way, this movie was made by Michael Lazowski. This movie is really about journalism. It's about First Amendment. It's about freedom of speech.
Okay.
And in those documents was absolute proof that the government has independently been studying the UFO phenomenon for decades, looking at and covering up the fact that they're looking at the origin of these craft and the pilots themselves.
I'm being told that by our control room that we are completely out of time. So this is what you call a tease. Jeremy, I'm begging you, you have to come back on the show and we will have part 2 of this interview because I want to hear your answer to these questions. Jeremy Corbell, thank you so much. We'll be right back.
President Trump is also announcing the Pentagon will be releasing information on UFOs in the near future.
This process is well underway, and we found many very interesting documents, I must say. And the first releases will begin very, very soon. So you can go out and see if that phenomena is correct. You'll figure it out.
So the move follows a Truth Social post by the president in February directing the Department of War to publish files related to aliens and extraterrestrial life, as well as unidentified aerial phenomenons and UFOs. Trump at the time also slammed former President Obama for allegedly revealing classified information on the topic. Several Republican lawmakers, including Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett and Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, are calling for more transparency around releasing information so the public can make their own decision on the topic.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download.
All right. Hold on. So we most definitely got more information on those 13 missing scientists, guys. And we also got more information on the U.S. general, that's basically missing as well, that knows a lot of the secrets, when it comes to the U.S. government and things we've been working on, just like the scientists, guys. So is it a coincidence to y'all that these people just wind up missing, or unalive? You got the scientists that sent out the messages saying, hey, I would never do anything to myself. Next day or next week, she unalive, and they're saying she did it to herself, even after she up so many people and said that she would never do anything to herself. It's most definitely crazy. We got Trump getting ready to release these UFO files. Will they release them all? Man, I don't know. Will they handle them like they handled the Epstein files? Man, I don't know. I just know that it is something most definitely crazy going on out there when it comes to these scientists and this general, man. People just don't just usually come up missing, and these ain't just your normal people. These are people with high clearances, you know what I'm saying? Respected jobs, scientists, generals, things of that nature. They just walked out the house one day, left their phone, left his watch. One of them left his phone, left his watch, left a bunch of things that were valuable to him and just disappeared. And it happened. The scientists did the same thing. Some of them just disappeared. I don't know where they went. I just know they disappeared. And it's a lot of UFO talk that's going on, guys. If you haven't, we are 25 likes away. Is that right? Yeah, we 25 likes away from 300. If you haven't hit that like button, tap the screen on your if you're on a mobile device, simply double tap your screen or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up, guys. It helps the channel. We need 25 more likes to hit 300. If you don't mind, hit that like button. If you enjoy this brand of entertainment, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Come back and see me. I do this on a day-to-day basis, and sometimes I go live outside my times that I say I'm going live. But days that you can find me are most definitely on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, guys, right here on Everything News at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So I got another show coming up, here in a couple of hours, guys. I'll get to the political news, the things that are going on in politics, Iran, things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? I most definitely cover it all. If it's breaking and it most definitely catches my attention, I most definitely report on it. So shout out to thank you, Skinny, for the gift, man. Shout out to anybody that sent me a gift. Shout out to anybody that got a membership or gifted a membership. Shout out to anybody that sent a super chat or a super sticker. And shout out to anybody that may have hit me up on Cash App. I most definitely appreciate y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. I most definitely enjoy bringing y'all this brand of entertainment. So like I said, if you like it, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We are a couple of subscribers away from hitting 63K, guys. So everybody subscribe. Does not subscribe to the channel. Hey, man, and I'll catch y'all at 9 a.m. With some more breaking news, man. You know what I'm saying? So until I see y'all again, y'all be safe. Sidewalk Gang, checking out. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be good, guys. Most definitely take time to double tap that screen if you haven't hit the like button, guys. If you're on a mobile device, double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button. Or click the three dots in the right hand corner, hit that thumbs up. It most definitely helps out the channel, and it most definitely keeps me quiet from having to keep saying, hey, y'all, hit the like button, hit the like button. Hey, y'all, hit the like button, hit the like button. Man, just hit the like button, and like the show. That way I don't have to tell y'all all the way through it to hit the like button. But anyway, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all early morning. I'm gone. I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'll see y'all around 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure y'all pull up on me. Gone.